Hi friends, my name is Maruti and I'm the co-founder of Cracku. In this video, we'll be giving you the explanations for all the LRDI sets from CAT 2024. We'll first start off with the sets in slot 1, then we'll go to slot 2 and finally slot 3. Initially, you'll be given the set as well as the questions. Please pause the video at that time and try to solve it on your own. If you're not able to solve it, then you can look at the video solutions. If you have any doubts with respect to any of the LRDI sets, you can please comment below the video. I look at all the comments and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. If you found this video to be useful, please do like it and please do share it with your friends. In this question, we are given a chart. This shows candlesticks of 7 stocks. A candlestick will give you the opening price, the closing price, the daily highest price and the daily lowest price of 7 stocks. So let us first draw a table and let us try to put that information in. It will have 7 rows and 4 columns. It will look something like this. So the stocks are A, B, C, D, E, F and G. We have the opening price and the closing price. We have the daily highest price and the daily lowest price for all of them. We'll put off for A, the highest price is 2400 and the lowest price is 1200. For B, the highest price is 2000, the lowest price is 1400. For C, the highest price is 1400, the lowest price is 800. For D, the highest price is 1200 and the lowest price is 300. For E, the highest price is 1400 and the lowest price is 1100. For F, the highest price is 2000 and the lowest price is 1200. For G, the highest price is 1900 and the lowest price is 1000. If you are looking at the opening and closing price for each one of them, for A, it is bearish, it is red, so the opening price was higher. So the opening price was 2200 and the closing price was 1800. B also is bearish, it is red in color, the opening price is 2000 and the closing price is 1700. C is green, so it is bullish, so the opening price is 800 and the closing price is 1200. D also is bullish, it is green in color, so the opening price is 500 and the closing price is 1000. E is bearish, so the opening price is 1300 and the closing price is 1100. F is also bearish, so the opening price is 1800 and the closing price is 1600. G is bullish, so the opening price is 1200 and the closing price is higher, it is 1700. Once we have this information, solving the questions will be very straightforward. So let us go ahead and answer the questions that follow. The daily share price variability, SPV, is given by day's high minus day's low, okay, divided by the average of the opening and closing prices during the day. Which of the following A, C, D, F has the highest SPV? A, C, D and F. We will calculate the SPV for each, that is the difference in the highest and lowest divided by the average of the opening and the closing. For A, it is 1200 divided by the average of the opening and closing, which is 2000. For C, the difference is 600 between the highest and the lowest divided by the average of opening and closing is 1000. D, the difference is 900 divided by the average of opening and closing is 750. F, the difference is 800 divided by the average of the opening and closing is 1700. Which of them is the highest? The correct answer is D, because this is the only one which is greater than 1. Everything else is less than 1. So the correct answer is option D. Again, daily share price variability SPV is given by days high minus days low divided by the average of opening and closing. For how many of these shares is the SPV greater than 0.5 on that day? So if you look at the earlier one, A is greater than half, C is greater than half, D is greater than half, F is not greater than half. What are the 3 remaining? It is B, E and G. For B, it is 600 divided by the average is 1850. The average of 2000 and 1700 is 1850. So this also is not greater than half. For E, it is 300 divided by the average will be 1300 and 1100. The average will be 1200. This also is not greater than half. Next one is G. This is 900 divided by the average of 1200 and 1700, which will be 1450. This is greater than half. So the correct answer is this is 1 and 1, 2, 3. So total of 4. Daily loss for a share is defined as opening price minus closing price divided by opening price. Okay, that is the loss. Which among the following A, B, F, G have the highest daily loss? That is opening minus closing divided by opening. For A, it is 400 divided by 2200. For B, it is 300 divided by 2000. For F, it is 200 divided by 1800. For G, it is opening price is actually less than closing price. This is actually profitable. So this is minus 500 divided by 1200. So we can actually ignore this. That is negative. Which of this is the highest? If you are looking at the highest, for A, it is 4 by 22. B is 3 by 20. F is 2 by 18. This is 1 by 9. This is less than 1 by 6. This is greater than 1 by 6. This is the only fraction which is greater than 1 by 6. That will be the highest, which is option C. That is share A. What would have been the percentage wealth gain for a trader who bought equal number of all the bullish shares at opening price and sold them at the day's high? What are the bullish shares? They are C, D and G. So suppose he bought one of C, one of D and one of G. He bought at the opening price. So C he would have bought at 800. D he would have bought at 500. G he would have bought at 1200. He would sell C at the highest daily price, which is 1400. D he would sell at the day's highest, which is 1200. And G he would sell at the highest, which is 1900. So the total cost price will be 800 plus 500 plus 1200, which is equal to 2500. And the total selling price is 1400 plus 1200 plus 1900, which is 4500. So the profit he makes is 4500 minus 2500, which is 2000. So the profit percentage is profit divided by cost price, which is 2500 into 100. This will be 80. So he would make 80% profit, which will be option A. In this question, we are told that there are 6 web surfers M, N, O, P, X and Y. Each of them have 30 stars, which they have to distribute among 4 bloggers A, B, C, D. Now, some of the stars that are given by these 6 web surfers to the 2 bloggers A and B is given over here. What is not given is how the distribution of the 30 stars from each of these 6 web surfers were given to C and D. So let us first draw a table. The table will look something like this. It will have some rows and some columns. And we'll put it like this. Now, the bloggers are A, B, C and D. And what are the web surfers? The names of the web surfers are M, N, O, P, X and Y, and then we have total. Total basically represents all the stars that are received by each of the 4 bloggers A, B, C, D. Now from this bar chart, we can figure out what are the stars that are received by the bloggers A and B. For example, this will represent that A received 10 from M and B received 0 from M. So the remaining 20 from M are given to C and D. Similarly over here, the number of stars that N gave to A is 25 and the number of stars N gave to B is 0. The remaining 5 stars are given to C and D in some order. O gave no stars to A and B. So this is 0 and 0. So he gave all the 30 stars to C and D. P gave 5 stars to A and 25 stars to B. So he distributed all of his 30 stars. So now we can immediately say that he gave no stars to C and D because all the 30 have been given to A and B. X gave no stars to A and B. So all the 30 stars he gave to C and D in some distribution. Y gave 5 stars to A and 20 stars to B. So 5 stars are remaining, they are given to C and D. So now we know the total stars that A has received, that will be 10 plus 25 plus 5 plus 5, which will be 45. We know the total stars that B has received, that is 25 plus 20, which is again 45. Now let us look at the additional facts. The number of stars received by the bloggers from the surface were all multiples of 5. So all of the numbers in this table will be multiples of 5. The total number of stars received by the bloggers were the same. We know that A received 45, B received 45, so C also will receive 45 and D also will receive 45. Each blogger received a different number of stars from M. From M, the number of stars received by each of the bloggers is different. What is the total number of stars with M? The total number of stars with M is 30. Out of the 30, he gave 10 to A. He gave no stars to B. So the remaining number of stars is 20. So this 20 have to be distributed among C and D. So the distribution will be either 0 and 20, or it will be 5 and 15, or it will be 10 and 10, or it will be 15 and 5, or it will be 20 and 0. We know that B received 0. So this is not possible. This is not possible. We know that A received 10. So this is not possible because all the number of stars are unique. So this would imply that C and D received 5 or 15 in some order. Either C received 5 and D received 15, or D received 15, or D received 5 and C received 15. 5 and 15 were distributed. Two surfers gave all of their stars to a single blogger. Who can that be? It can't be M because M gave 10, 5 and 15. It can't be N because N gave 25 to A. So he has to give the remaining 5 to either C or D. It can be O. It cannot be P because P gave 5 and 25. It can be X. It cannot be Y. So the only two possibilities, the only two web surfers who could have given all of their stars to one particular blogger are, this has to be O and X. So they have given either 0 and 30 to either C or D. X also is given 0 to 1 and 30 to the other. D received more stars from C than Y. So Y has given 5 and 20 to A and B. He has only 5 stars remaining. This would imply that he gave 5 over here and 0 to Y. This is the information that we have. Based on this information, we can actually conclude certain things. What are the things that we can conclude? We know that O gave, if you are looking at O and X, just these two. Now, and we are looking only at C and D. The reason we are doing that is because getting 30 stars from one of them is a lot of stars. So one case is that C received 30 stars from O and D received 30 stars from X. The other case is that there is C and D over here. We have O and X. D received 30 stars from O and 0 stars from C, and C received 30 stars from X and D received 0 stars. In both the cases, the total number of stars C received from these two is 30. The total number of stars D received from these two is 30. One of them will receive 30 from one and the other will receive 30 from the other. So this would immediately imply that D would have received 130 from these two. He received a 5 from Y. So he cannot receive a 15 from M. Because in that particular case, if you are looking at only D, D would have received 30 from either O or X. Similarly, he is receiving 5 from Y. So he has already gotten 35. So if he is receiving 15 from M, the total he would receive will be 50. That is not possible. This would imply that D is going to receive only 5 here and C has to receive 15. So this will be 15 and this will be 5. Now if you are looking at C, C received 15 from M. He is going to receive 30 from either O or X. So he cannot receive any other star from any other blogger because the total he received is already 45. So this would be 0 and this would be the remaining 5. So now if you think about it, the only thing we don't know is who did O give 32 and who did X give 32. So there are two possibilities, but we can't really infer which blogger O gave his 30 and X gave his 30. Both the cases are possible. So this is how the table will remain. Let us go ahead and answer the questions that follow. What is the total number of stars received by D? The total number of stars received by D is equal to the total number of stars received by A, B and C, which is equal to 45. What is the number of stars D received from Y? From Y, D received 5. How many surfers distributed their stars among exactly 2 bloggers? That is not M, because M gave 10, 15 and 5. That is N, because N gave only to A and D. That is not O, because O gave all of his stars to only 1. We don't know whether it is C or D, but it is only to 1. That is P, because P gave all of his stars to A and B. That is not X, because X gave all of his stars to only 1 blogger. It is either C or D. And that is not Y, because Y gave his stars to 3 bloggers, A, B and D. So the correct answer is 2 bloggers, and they will be N and P. Which of the following can be determined with certainty? The number of stars C received by C from M. C received 15 stars from M, so this can be determined with certainty. The number of stars received by D from O. The number of stars D received from O is either 0 or 30. We can't say which one it is for sure, so this cannot be determined. So only one can be determined with certainty. This is a question which is part of the games and tournaments. This kind of a question is a very normal question, a very standard question, which is asked multiple times in previous year's CAT. So let us try to answer this. We are told that there are 6 teams. The teams are numbered from 1 to 6. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now they are playing in a tournament. They are divided into 2 equal groups. We have group 1, which consists of 3 teams, and we have group 2, which consists of 3 teams. Now each team in a particular group plays against the other 2 teams exactly once. And the teams which are part of different groups, they play against each other 3 times. So let us first try to identify how many games happen overall. We have group 1 over here, and we have group 2 over here. Group 1 has 3 teams, group 2 has 3 teams. The number of games that the 3 teams of group 1 play against each other internally will be 3C2, which is equal to 3. Suppose the 3 teams are A, B and C. The 3 games will be A versus B, B versus C and A versus C. Similarly, internally in group 2, we will have 3 games. We have 3 teams, they play against each other exactly once, so we get 3 games. But when we are picking one team in group 1, we can do it in 3 ways. If we are picking one team in group 2, we can do it in 3 ways. And once we pick the 2 teams, one from group 1, one from group 2, they play against each other 2 times. So the total number of matches such that one team is from group 1 and one team is from group 2 is 2 into 3 into 3, which is 18. So the total number of matches that happen is 3 plus 3 plus 18, which is equal to 24 games. We are told that each of the 6 teams plays exactly 1 game in every round. Now 1 game has 2 teams. So this would imply that when the 6 teams are playing exactly 1 game in every round, there are 6 teams, each game has 2 teams. So every round will have 3 games. So the total number of rounds will be 8 rounds. What we essentially need to do is identify the pairings for each of the 8 rounds. Once we do that, we can go ahead and answer the questions that follow. Let us assume that this is how we are basically drawing a table to identify the pairings. This is round 1. This is round 2. This is round 3. This is round 4. This is round 5. This is round 6. This is round 7. And this is round 8. Now we are given some information. We are told that every team played against a team from the other group in round 8. So the 3 games in round 8, they happened between teams which belong to 2 different groups. Round 4 and round 7, the matchups are identical. So if the 3 games we identify in round 4, they will be the same 3 matchups in round 7 also. In round 5 and round 8, also the matchups are identical. So this is, if you are able to identify the 3 matchups in round 5, they will be the same in round 8 also. Team 4 played team 6 in both round 1 and 2. So we have 4 versus 6 in round 1 and round 2. So team 4 played against team 6 2 times. So they will belong to 2 different groups. This is team 4 and this is team 6. Team 1 played team 5 only once, and that was in round 2. What does this mean? It would mean that team 1 and team 5 played exactly once, so they are in the same group.
We just don't know whether the third team in that particular group is either team 4 or team 6, but team 1 and team 5 are in the same group. Similarly, the remaining last two teams, which is team 2 and team 3, also have to be in the same group, because team 1, team 5 and the third team over here will be either this team 4 or it will be team 6. So there is no space for either team 2 or team 3 in the same group. So team 2 and team 3 should belong to the third group. And again, the third team in this particular group will be either team 4 or team 6 in some order. Team 3 played against team 4 in round 3. So this is 3 versus 4. Okay. Team 1 played team 6 in round 6. This is 1 versus 6. Okay. In round 8, team 3 played team 6. So this is 3 versus 6, which will be the same in round 5. This is 3 versus 6. So team 3 and team 6 played 2 times. They are in opposite teams. So this will be team 3 over here. And this will be team 2. And this will be team 5. And this is team 1. So we have identified the 2 groups. Similarly, team 2 played against team 5 in round 8. This is 2 versus 5. This also is 2 versus 5. Now, immediately you should figure out that we have identified 2 matchups in round 2, in round 5 and round 8. So the third matchup can be easily identified. The third matchup will be between the 2 teams which are not part of those 2 games. For example, in round 2, we have 4, 6, 1, 5. The 2 remaining teams are 2 versus 3. Similarly, in round 5, we have 3, 6, 2, 5. The 2 remaining teams are 1 and 4. Now, if you identify, we have identified round 2, all the 3 matchups. We have identified round 5, all the 3 matchups. We have identified round 8, all the 3 matchups. The only matchups which are essentially remaining are round 4, round 7, round 1, round 3 and round 6. Let us try to get a handle on what exactly we have done and what exactly is remaining. If you are looking at the matchups between 2 teams which belong to the same group, we have identified 4 versus 3. Let me put it here. Same group and different group. Remember that different group play against each other 2 times. In the same group, we have 4 versus 3 that is done. 3 versus 2 is not done. 3 versus 2 also is done actually. 3 versus 2 is done. 4 versus 3 is done. 4 versus 2 is not done. So this is the only thing that is remaining in group 1. In group 2, we have 6 versus 5 is not done. We have 6 versus 1 is done. It is in round 6. And 5 versus 1 also is done. 6 versus 5 is not done. 5 versus 1 is done. It is in round 2. 6 versus 1 is in round 6. So these are the 2 games which are remaining in the same group. In different groups, we have 4 versus 6 is done. 4 versus 5 is not done. 4 versus 1 is done. Similarly, 3 versus 6 is done. 3 versus 5 is not done. 3 versus 1 is not done. So 3 versus 5 and 3 versus 1. Similarly, 2 versus 6 is not done. 2 versus 5 is done. 2 versus 1 is not done. So the number of matches that are remaining is these different groups. There are 5 pairings, but each of them played against each other exactly 2 times. So we'll get 2 into 5, which is 10. And these 2, so total we have to fill in 12 matchups. So we have 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, that is 6. And we have 3 here and 3 here, that is 6. So total is 12. We have to somehow put it up. One thing that I would immediately think of is, let us try to identify the 3 matchups of round 4. Because there is a big clue that round 4 and round 7 have the same 3 matchups. So if you are able to identify the matchups, the 3 matchups of round 4, we will be able to identify the same thing for round 7. One thing you should notice is, round 2, round 5 and round 8, we know completely all the 3 games. We know the team that round 1 and round 3, team 4 has played. Team 4 has played team 6 in round 1. Team 4 has played team 3 in round 3. So essentially, there can't be any other match of team 4 in round 1 or round 3. Now, if you're looking at the game team 4 versus team 5, this has to be played 2 times. So we have one 4 versus 5 and we have another 4 versus 5. In which rounds can they happen? It cannot happen in round 1 because team 4 already played. It cannot happen in round 3 because again team 4 already played. It has to happen either in round 4 or round 6 or round 7. Now you say 4 versus 5 doesn't happen in round 4. Then it won't happen in round 7 also because they are identical. We are left with only one round, that is round 6. But 4 has to play 5 2 times. So that is a contradiction. This would imply that 4 versus 5 happened in round 4 as well as round 7. This is done. In the same case, if you're looking at team 6, the reason I'm looking at team 6 is because we know who team 6 played in round 1. We know who team 6 played in round 6. So if you're looking at the matchup of 2 versus 6, 2 versus 6 has to be played 2 times. And that has to happen either in round 3 or round 4 or round 7. Because we know who team 6 played in all the remaining rounds. Again using the same contradiction. Suppose 2 versus 6 did not happen in round 4. Then it cannot happen in round 7 because they are identical, the matchups. So we are left with only one round, round 3, and we need 2 versus 6 to be played 2 times. So that is a contradiction. So 2 versus 6 happened in round 4 also and round 7 also. So 2 versus 6 is again done. Now we know 2 games that happened in round 4. So we can identify the third game. That will be 4 is done, 5 is done, 2 is done, 6 is done. So this has to be 1 versus 3. So this also will be 1 versus 3. So 1 versus 3 is done. So now essentially what we are left with is 3 versus 5 has to happen 2 times. This one. And 2 versus 1 has to happen 2 times. So we have to identify this 6 games. We need 2 games in round 1, we need 2 games in round 3, we need 2 games in round 6. Now in round 1 and round 6, we know the game that team 6 has played. So this 5 versus 6 has to happen in round 3. So what is the last game remaining in round 3? Because we have identified 2 games, it has to be 1 versus 2. Similarly, if you're looking at round 1 and round 6, we have identified, say in round 1, team 4 has played team 6. So this 4 versus 2 has to happen in round 6. So the third game will be between the 2 remaining teams, which is 3 versus 5. This would tell us that the last 2 games of 3 versus 5 and 2 versus 1 has to happen in round 1. This is how we'll solve the set in a logical manner. Let us go ahead and answer the questions that follow. How many rounds were there in the tournament? 8 rounds were there in the tournament. What is the number of the team that played team 1 in round 5? It has to be 4. Which team amongst the teams number 2, 3, 4 and 5 was not part of the same group? 2, 3, 4 are in the same group. 5 is not part of the same group. What is the number of the team that played team 1 in round 7? That will be team 3. What is the number of the team that played team 6 in round 3? That will be 5. In this question, we are told that there are 2 students, Ramya and Amiya. They are both contesting for an election. Now, there are 2 ways in which you can contest for the election. Either you can run a stoic campaign or you can run a vigorous campaign. Vigorous or a straight campaign. Now, the percentage of students who will turn up to vote depends on the kind of campaign that they run. If they run a vigorous campaign, then more students will come out. If they don't run a vigorous campaign, lesser number of students come out. Similarly, we are also told that the number of the voting percentage is also dependent on whether they are running a vigorous campaign or a straight campaign. In addition to it, we are also told that if the campaign can be either on focusing on issues or it can be a personal attack. If it is by personal attack, that person who is attacking the other person personally will lose some votes. And if the person is focusing on issues, then no votes are lost. This is essentially the gist of it. We can go through the all of the detailed things. So let us first start off by considering both the scenarios. Suppose this is Amiya and this is Ramya. Now suppose both of them are running a state campaign. Then both of them will get 1 point each, and the total voting percentage will be 20 into 1 plus 1, which is 40%.
Out of this 40%, how much will Amiya get and how much will Ramya get? Ramya will get 20 and Amiya will get 20. Suppose Amiya is running a state campaign and Ramya is running a vigorous campaign. The total voting percentage will be 20 into 1 plus 2, that is 60%. And the number of votes that Amiya will get will be 1/3 of 60%, which is 20%. And the number of votes that Ramya gets, the percentage of votes, will be 40%. This is before we actually look at whether they're attacking each other personally or not. Similarly, if Amiya is running a vigorous campaign and Ramya is running a state campaign, the total voting percentage will be 20 into 2 plus 1, which is again 60%. And the percentage of vote that Amiya gets will be 20 into 2, which is 40%. Basically, this is 2 by 3 into 60%, and the percentage of vote that Ramya gets will be 20%. Finally, if both of them are running a vigorous campaign, both of them will get 2 points each, and the total voting percentage will be 20 into 2 plus 2, which is 80%, out of which the percentage of vote that Amiya gets is 40%, and the percentage of vote that Ramya gets is also 40%. Now, you would notice, if you are looking closely, that the percentage of vote that a person gets is essentially dependent only on themselves, whether they're running a state campaign or a vigorous campaign. Because you can even calculate it. Suppose Amiya is running a state campaign, let us give it A, whether this A can be either 1 or 2, and Ramya is running a vigorous or a state campaign, let us assume that this is B. Even B can take either 1 or 2. So the total voting percentage is 20 into A plus B. This is given to us. This is the total voting percentage. This is dependent on both of them. But the percentage of vote that Amiya gets will be the total voting percentage, which is 20 into A plus B, into the fraction between Amiya and Ramya. So that is into A divided by A plus B. This gets cancelled and finally it is just left with 20A. So you would actually realize over here that if Amiya is running a state campaign in the first two cases, the percentage of votes that Amiya gets is 20% only. Similarly, if Amiya is running a vigorous campaign in the last two cases, the total votes that she gets is 20 into 2, which is 40%. I just wrote this so that you will understand why exactly this is happening. Now, in addition to it, now we are also told that if they are attacking each other, they will lose some votes. That is given by this one and this one. If both of them are attacking each other, both of them will lose votes. That is given over here. That is not super important right now. There will be many cases. So let us go ahead and answer the questions that follow. If both of them run a state campaign attacking the other, then what is the percentage of students who vote in the election? If both of them are running a state campaign, Amiya will get 1 point, Ramya will get 1 point. So the total voting percentage will be 20 into 1 plus 1, which is 40%. Out of this, Amiya will get 20%, Ramya will get 20% of the voting. Now, but both of them are attacking each other. So we are looking at this particular case. If both the students' campaigns attack each other, then 10% of the students who would have otherwise voted for them, had their campaigns run on issues, would not vote at all. So that would imply that this 20% becomes 18%. This 20% becomes 18%. So the total voting percentage becomes 36%, which is option D. What is the minimum percentage of votes of students who will vote in the election? Now, one thing you would notice is if you are trying to minimize the total voting percentage, you would want both of them to run state campaigns. So the total voting percentage will be 20 into 1 plus 1, which is equal to 40%. Now, another thing you would notice is that people will stop voting only if they're attacking each other. So if say Amiya is attacking Ramya, then 10% of the students who would have voted for Amiya would vote for Ramya. We are not concerned about it because they're somehow voting for somebody or the other. We are only looking to minimize the number of people who vote. So the maximum number of people we are looking for is the people who drop out. And 10% of the people who would have otherwise voted for Amiya will not vote at all. So in this particular case, normally Amiya would get 20%, Ramya would get 20%. If Amiya attacks Ramya, then 10% of the people who vote for Amiya would vote for Ramya. That is fine. The total voting percentage is not impacted. But 10% of the people who would vote for Amiya would not vote at all. So that is, we are missing out on 2%. So the total number of percentage of votes will be 38% in that case. In the second case, say if only Ramya is attacking Amiya. In that case, 20% of the students who would vote for her would vote for Ramya. Again, we are not concerned about it because we are only looking for the total voting percentage. Whether somebody voted for Ramya or Amiya is not particularly important for us in this particular question.
But what is important is that this 5% of the people would drop out. So 5% of 20% will be 1%. So if only Ramya attacks Amiya, 39% would still vote. Some of them will vote for Amiya, some of them will vote for Ramya. But if say both the campaigns attack each other, then 10% of the people who would have voted would not vote at all. This would imply that Amiya would lose 2%, Ramya would lose 2%, total 4% are lost, so the total voting percentage will be only 36%. So the minimum voting percentage will be 36%. This will happen if both of them run state campaigns and both of them attack each other. Then it will be 36%. Let us look at the next question. If Amiya runs a campaign focusing on issues, okay, what is the maximum percentage of votes that she can get? If we are looking for the maximum number of votes, we want both Amiya and Ramya to campaign vigorously. We want more people to actually vote. So both of them will get 2 points. So the total voting percentage will be 80%. Out of which normally Amiya would get 40% and Ramya would get 40%. Now Amiya is focusing on issues, but she wants, in the maximum scenarios, she wants some of the votes that Ramya was getting. So if say Ramya attacks Amiya, then we are looking at this particular case, 20% of the students who would have voted for Ramya would vote for Amiya. 20% of this would be minus 8% and this is plus 8%. In addition to it, Ramya, 5% of the people who would have voted for Ramya would not vote at all. So Ramya would lose another 2%. 5% of 40% is 2%. So final voting percentage will be 48% for Amiya and 30% for Ramya. So the maximum voting percentage for Amiya will be 48%, which is option A. Let us look at the next question. If Ramya runs a campaign attacking Amiya, then what is the minimum voting percentage that she is guaranteed to get? We are trying to minimize the number of votes that Ramya gets. So let us assume that Ramya is campaigning steadily. She is not campaigning vigorously. Amiya can be either vigorous or straight, doesn't matter. Let us assume that she is also campaigning steadily. So the total voting percentage will be 40%, which is 20 into 1 plus 1. Now, Ramya would get 20%, Amiya would get 20% if they had both campaigned on issues. But Ramya is attacking Amiya. So she would lose 20% of the people who would have voted for her. 20% of 20% is 4%. This 4% would go to Amiya. In addition to it, 5% of the people who would have otherwise voted for Ramya will not vote at all. What is 5% of 20%? That is 1%. So finally, in this case, Amiya would get 24% and Ramya would get 15%. This 15% is the absolute minimum that Ramya would get. So the correct answer is option B. What is the maximum possible voting percentage with which one candidate wins? If one candidate wins and we are trying to maximize the gap between them, we would want one person to campaign vigorously. Let that person be Amiya and let Ramya campaign steadily. One person has to campaign vigorously, other person has to campaign steadily. The reason I would want that to be Amiya is because in case of Ramya, the shift of the votes from Ramya to Amiya is higher. If Ramya is campaigning and attacking the other person, 20% of the votes shift. In case of Amiya, only 10% of the votes shift. So we want Ramya to attack Amiya, and so we want more votes to go from Ramya to Amiya. So we would assume that Amiya is campaigning vigorously and Ramya is campaigning steadily. So the total voting percentage will be 60%, which is 20 into 2 plus 1. Normally, if both of them campaigned on issues, Amiya would get 40%, Ramya would get 20%. But here we are trying to maximize the gap. So we want Ramya to attack Amiya and lose 20% of her votes, which is 1/5, which is 4%. This 4% will shift to Amiya. In addition to it, 5% of the people who would have voted for Ramya would not vote at all. Again, what is 5% of 20%? This is 1%. So the total votes that Amiya receives will be 44%. Total votes that Ramya receives is 15%, and this gap is 29%. Note that in the other scenario, where say Amiya campaigns steadily and Ramya campaigns vigorously, and say Amiya attacks Ramya, then the shift is only 10%. That is the reason we are saying that it would be, the gap will be more if Ramya attacks Amiya. Just to make it sure, suppose Amiya is campaigning steadily and Ramya campaigns vigorously. The total voting percentage will be again 60%. Here Amiya is losing, she gets 20%, Ramya gets 40%. Now suppose Amiya now attacks Ramya 10% of the votes who would have voted for her would vote for Ramya. What is 10% of 20%? It is 2%. This 2% shift happens. In addition to it, 10% of the people who would have voted for Ramya will not vote at all. Again, what is 10% of 20%? That is 2%. So finally, the total votes that Amiya gets is 16%. The total votes that Ramya gets is 42%. Here the gap is 26%, which is less than 29%. Why did this happen? Because the shift over here is only 2%. The shift over here is 4%. That is why we were saying that we want Ramya to attack Amiya and we want Ramya to lose and Amiya to win, for the gap to be more. Anyway, the answer in this case is 44 minus 15, which is 29%. In this question, we are told that there is a bar chart given across three people, Dheeraj, Samantha and Nitesh. We are told that this represents the number of countries in different continents that each of them has visited. If you're looking at Dheeraj, we know that in Asia he visited 3 countries. In Samantha visited no countries in Asia and Nitesh visited 1 country in Asia. In Europe, Dheeraj visited 7 countries, Samantha visited 9 countries and Nitesh visited 6 countries. In rest of the world, Dheeraj visited 1 country, Samantha visited 4 countries and Nitesh visited 12 countries. In addition to it, we are given some information about each one of them. We are told that 32 countries were visited by at least one of them. Similarly, USA is the only country in the rest of the world which is visited by all 3 of them. China in Asia is the only country that was visited by both Dheeraj and Nitesh but not Samantha. France in Europe is the only country outside Asia which was visited by both Dheeraj and Samantha but not Nitesh. And half of the countries visited by both Samantha and Nitesh are in Europe. These are the additional clues that are given. The reason I was going through all the clues is because now we try to understand what is the kind of question this is. Once you go through all the clues, you figure out that this is basically a Venn diagrams question. But it does not have just one Venn diagram, it will have 3 Venn diagrams. What are the 3 Venn diagrams? One is for Asia. We have Dheeraj, Samantha and Nitesh. Let us assume that this is Dheeraj, this is Samantha and this is Nitesh. Then we have a Venn diagram for Europe. We have Dheeraj, Samantha and Nitesh. This is Dheeraj, Samantha and Nitesh. And then we have another one which is rest of the world. This also has Dheeraj, Samantha and Nitesh. We know the number of countries in Asia that Dheeraj has visited. Dheeraj visited 3 countries in Asia. What is the number of countries that Samantha visited in Asia? It is 0. What is the number of countries Nitesh visited in Asia? It is 1. Similarly, in Europe, the number of countries that Dheeraj visited is 7. The number of countries Samantha visited is 9. And the number of countries Nitesh visited is 6. In the rest of the world, the number of countries that Dheeraj visited is 1. The number of countries Samantha visited is 4. And number of countries Nitesh visited is 12. Now, if you are looking at the clues that are given, the total number of countries visited by all of them is 32. At least one of them. USA in rest of the world is the only country that all 3 of them visited. So, in rest of the world, there is one country, USA, which is visited by all of them. In Europe, there is no country. In Asia, there is no country. We know that Samantha visited no country in Asia, so this will be 0, which is the overlap of Dheeraj and Samantha. This will be 0, which is the number of countries that only Samantha visited. And this is 0, which is the number of countries that Samantha and Nitesh visited, but not Dheeraj. Similarly, if you're looking at the rest of the world, there is only one country all 3 of them visited. Now, the total number of countries that Dheeraj visited in the rest of the world is 1. So, the only country that Dheeraj visited in the rest of the world is USA, that is known to us. So, only Dheeraj visited 0 countries in the rest of the world. Dheeraj and Samantha alone visited 0 countries in the rest of the world. Dheeraj and Nitesh alone visited 0 countries in the rest of the world because the only country that Dheeraj visited in the rest of the world is USA. China in Asia is the only country visited by both Dheeraj and Nitesh but not Samantha. Let us go back to Asia. There is one country in Asia which Dheeraj and Nitesh visited. This is 1. That country is China. This would imply that Nitesh alone visited no country. because the total number of countries in Asia that Nitish visited is 1. That country is China, which Dheeraj and Nitish visited. So Nitish alone visited no country. Similarly, the number of countries that in Asia that Dheeraj visited alone is 2. Because the total number of countries that Dheeraj visited is 3, we got one overlap of 1. So the remaining 2 have to be visited by Dheeraj alone. So in fact, we know the total split of all the countries in Asia. France in Europe, okay, now we are talking about Europe somewhere over here. Okay, France in Europe is the only country outside Asia which was visited by both Dheeraj and Samantha but not by Nitish. So this is 1. This is the only country that Dheeraj and Samantha visited but not Nitish. Now in fact we know that from the earlier one, China in Asia is the only country visited by both Dheeraj and Nitish but not Samantha. So here we wrote 1. This would imply that this has to be 0. Because there is no such country in Europe. There is only one country which Dheeraj and Nitish visited but not Samantha. That is in Asia and it is China. That is given to us. So now we can identify in Europe what is the number of countries that Dheeraj visited alone. That will be 6. Because the total number of countries Dheeraj visited is 7. We found one country in an overlap with Samantha. That I think is France. So all the remaining 6 countries Dheeraj has to visit alone, which was visited by both Dheeraj and Samantha but not Nitish. Okay. Half of the countries visited by both Samantha and Nitish are in Europe. What is the number of countries that Samantha and Nitish visited in Asia? It is 0. Because Samantha visited no country in Asia. What are the number of countries that Samantha and Nitish visited in Europe? That is not known to us. Let us assume that the number of countries that Samantha and Nitish visited but not Dheeraj in Europe is A. This would imply that the total number of countries that Samantha and Nitish visited in Europe is A. This has to be half of the total number of countries that they visited. In Asia, they visited 0 countries together. In Europe, they visited A countries together. This would imply that in rest of the world also, the total number of countries that they visited has to be equal to A. So this would imply that the number of countries that Samantha and Nitish visited in rest of the world, but not Dheeraj, has to be A minus 1. Why is that the case? Because the total number of countries that they visited, Samantha and Nitish visited, has to be 2A. In Europe, we have A. There is one country which is an overlap of all 3 of them. That I think is USA. So the number of countries that only Samantha and Nitish visited has to be A minus 1 in rest of the world. This would tell us the total number of countries that Samantha alone visited in Europe. This will be 8 minus A. Because the total number of countries Samantha visited is 9. Similarly, the total number of countries that Nitish alone visited is 6 minus A. Because the total number of countries he visited is 6. In rest of the world, the total number of countries Samantha visited alone is 4 minus A. And the total number of countries that Nitish visited alone is 12 minus A. Because the sum of all the elements in the circle has to be 12. How do we calculate the value of A? We know that 32 countries were visited by at least one of them. So let us calculate the total number of countries in Asia, Europe and rest of the world. In Asia, the total number of countries is 3. If you add up all the numbers in the 3 circles, you are going to get 3. In Europe, it is 6 plus 1, that is 7, plus 8, 15, plus 6 minus A, so this is 21 minus A. In rest of the world, if you add up all the numbers in any of the 3 circles, it will be 4 plus 12 minus A, this is 16 minus A. The sum of all 3 of them has to be equal to 32. 21 minus A plus 16 minus A is 37 minus 2A. Plus 3 is 40 minus 2A. So 40 minus 2A is equal to 32, or the value of A is equal to 4. Once you know that A is equal to 4, we'll just substitute it over here. 8 minus A will be 4. A will be 4. 6 minus A will be 2. Similarly over here, 4 minus A will be 0. A minus 1 is 3. 12 minus A is 8. So let us go ahead and answer the questions that follow. How many countries in Asia were visited by at least one of Dheeraj, Samantha and Nitish? The total number of countries in Asia that were visited by at least one of them is 3. How many countries in Europe were visited only by Nitish? The number of countries in Europe visited only by Nitish is 2. How many countries in rest of the world were visited by both Nitish and Samantha? Nitish and Samantha in rest of the world is 1 plus 3, which is 4. How many countries in Europe were visited by exactly one of Dheeraj, Samantha and Nitish? In Europe, Dheeraj visited 6, Samantha visited 4 and Nitish visited 2. So the number of countries that each one of them, only one of them visited in Europe is 6 plus 4 plus 2, which is 12.
We at Cracku provide all the previous year CAT papers along with many other MBA examinations such as XAT, SNAP, MAT, CMAT, TIS and PGDBA in the actual exam format. You can attempt them as a test and get a detailed analysis of your performance or download them as PDFs.
In this question, we are told that there are numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. They should be put in 10 slots. They have been given some rules. The rules are that numbers increase from left to right. So this way they increase. Similarly, they increase from top to bottom. So basically they're decreasing like this, which would essentially immediately tell us one thing. The number over here has to be greater than all the numbers over here and all the numbers over here. So that has to be the largest number. So this will be equal to 10. Next, if you are looking at it, 1 is placed either in the same row or in the same column as 10. Now we know that 10 is in row 1, column 4. So 1 will be either in column 4 or it will be in row 1. So if you are looking at where 1 will be, if you are writing it like this, if this is 10, here we will get 3 and here we will get 2 and here is 1. So either this is 1 or this is 1. Because if 1 is in row 1, it will be to the leftmost because it is smaller than every other number in the same row. So it will be to the leftmost. Or if this is 1, it will be bottommost. We don't know where it is, so we'll keep it there. 2 and 3 are placed neither in the same row nor in the same column as 10. So none of these numbers in the first row are 2 and 3. None of these numbers are 2 and 3. So either this is 2 or this is 2. Basically, out of these 3 numbers, 2 of them have to be 2 and 3. And one of them will be different. Now, if you are trying to identify which one it will be, here we have 3 dots. These 3 dots, they have to be 2 and 3. 2 of them have to be 2 and 3. One will be another. So if you are trying to see if this can be 2 and if this can be 3, that won't work out, because then what will this number be? The number which is below 3. That number has to be less than 3. It cannot be 2 and it is also not 1. Remember that we told that either this is 1 or this is 1. So if say this is 2 and this is 3, this will have to be 1 because it should be a number which is less than 3. The only 2 numbers which are less than 3 are 1 and 2, and both of them cannot be that number. This would imply that this over here cannot be 3. Can this be 2? This cannot be 2 because if that is 2, where will 3 come? This cannot be 3 because the numbers are increasing from left to right. This cannot be 3 because again numbers are increasing from top to bottom. So essentially this number over here cannot be 3, it cannot be 2. So either this is 2 and 3 or this is 2 and 3. And the other number in row 2, column 3 will be some other number. We don't know which one it is yet. 7 or 8 are not placed in the same row or same column as 9. So let us try to identify where will 9 be. Now if you think about it, if 9 is in row 1, it has to be over here. If 9 is in column 4, it has to be over here. Can this number over here, can this be 9? It cannot be 9 because if this is 9, what will the number in row 1, column 3 be? We don't know that because that number has to be greater than 9 and it is not equal to 10. So the only possibilities are, let me clear all of this up. Either this is 9 or this is 9. One of the two has to be 9. And the last clue is that 4 and 6 are placed in the same row. Okay. Now without getting confused, let us again write all of them. Here is row 1. This is 1, 2, 3 and 4. Here there is row 2. There are 1, 2 and 3. Then we have row 3. We have 1 and 2. And finally we have row 4 over here. The first thing we discussed is that
10 has to be in row 1, column 4. This has to be 10. That is, this has to be 10. Why is that the case? Because 10 is greater than every number. So in whatever row it is there, it will be to the rightmost. Similarly, 1 is greater than every other number. So whatever column it is there, it will be at the topmost. The only possibility is that it is in row 1, column 4. So that is 10. The second thing we discussed was that because 10 is in row 1, column 4, 2 and 3 will not be in row 1, 2 and 3 will not be in column 4. So out of these 3, if you are putting an X, these 3 are the only slots available for 2 and 3. If you are actually pinpointing this circle over here, if this is say 3, where will 2 come? 2 will be over here or over here. If say this is 2, then this number over here has to be 1, because numbers are increasing from left to right, and the number to the left of 3 has to be less than 3. But that is not possible because 1 will either come over here or it will come over here. For the same reason, if say 2 is over here also, this number over here will not be any other number, there will be a contradiction. In a similar case, if say this is 2, we will have a contradiction because the number to the left of it has to be 1 and the number to the bottom will be 3. Essentially, we are saying that this number over here, that circle cannot be 2 or 3. So either this is 2 or 3 and this is 2 or 3. Once we have identified it, let us now try to figure out where 9 can be. 9, in whichever row it is there, it will be to the rightmost other than 10. So it will be over here, one possibility. Whichever column it is there, it will be to the top other than 10. So this will be 9. These are the 2 slots which are available for 9. There is no other slot that 9 is available because above it, there cannot be any other number other than 10. So now if you are looking at it, if say out of these 2 options, we'll try to figure out which one will be 9. This one, this one, this one, we have, these are the 10, this is 2 or 3, this is 2 or 3. If say this number over here is 9, then where will 4 and 6 come? We are told that 4 and 6 are placed in the same row. If 4 and 6 are placed in the same row, 4 and 6 will have to be in row 1. That is the only possibility. So 2 out of these 3 has to be 4 and 6. That is this one, and this one. But we are also told that 7 and 8 are not in the same row or same column as 9. So this would again imply that this has to contain 4 and 6 as well as 7 and 8. All 4 have to be in row 1, but that is not possible because we have only 3 blanks available. This would imply that this cannot be 9. If this cannot be 9, this has to be 9. If that is 9, where will 7 and 8 come? 7 and 8 therefore have to be in column 4. And if 7 and 8 have to be in column 4, this has to be 8, this has to be 7. 4 and 6 have to be in the same row. The only possibility is that this is 4 and this is 6. Now we are left with only 2 blanks. We know that 1 is present in the same column or in the same row as 10. So this will have to be 1. And the last number over here, this has to be 5. Let us go ahead and answer the questions that follow. What is the row number of which has the least sum of numbers placed in that row? That will be row 4. Row 4 has only one number and it is the smallest of all of them. So the correct answer is 4. Which of the following statements must be true? 10 is placed in a slot in row 1. This is true. 1 is placed in a slot in row 4. This also is true. Both of them are definitely true. So the correct answer is both 1 and 2. Which of the following statements must be true? 2 is placed in a slot in column 2. This may be true. We can't say that this is definitely true. This is maybe true because that number can be either 2 or 3. 3 is placed in a slot in column 3. That also may be true. Again, we can't say that for sure. So the correct answer is neither 1 nor 2. For how many slots in the grid can the placement of the numbers cannot be determined with certainty? There are only 2 numbers. The placement of 2 and 3 we can't determine with certainty. For the remaining 8 numbers, we know exactly where they are placed. What is the sum of the numbers in column 4? The sum of the numbers in column 4 is 10 plus 8 plus 7 plus 1, which is equal to 26.
In this question, we are told that there is a community over here, a gated area, where there are 3 lakes. This is lake 1, this is lake 2, and this is lake 3. We are also given some information. Anybody can enter the community only through gate C. There are some houses in the area. The houses are in A, H and on this line AH. They are also on M and L and on this line ML. There are no other houses anywhere else. We are also given the lengths of each of them. We are given that OP is 150. So this is 150. We are given that ON is equal to MN is equal to 300. So this is 300. This is 300. We are given that ML is 400. So this is 400. EL is 200. And DE is 400. Now the entry point and the exit point, like we mentioned, is only E. There is a bank and a post office. Post office is in P and bank is in B. This is the information that is given. To solve these kind of questions, there is no trick that is involved. We have to just consider all the paths and try to make educated guesses and then hope that the accuracy is good. Because if you try to figure out all the different paths, it will take a lot of time. But you will have to try for most reasonable guesses and then find the answer. Let us go ahead and answer the questions that follow. In this question, we are told that there is a resident who is at L and he has to visit the post office as well as the bank. So he has to go to P as well as B. And what is the minimum distance that he has to walk? Starting from his residence, he has to go to both of them and then come back to his residence. We are looking for the minimum distance. So if you are starting from L, he will first go to K. Then he'll use the hypotenuse to go to O. What is the length of the hypotenuse? It is 300 and 400. So this will be 500. From O, he will go to P. From P, he will go to I. From I, again, he'll use the hypotenuse from I to G. What is the length of the hypotenuse? That will be, this is 150. This is 200. So this will be 250. From I, he will go to G. Then he will go to B. From B, he will go to C, D, and finally, he will go to E and L. So we have to calculate the total length for this. LK is 300. KO is 500. OP is 150. PI is 400. IG is 250. GB is 400. B to D is 600, which is 300 plus 300. And D to L is another 600. So this is the total that we have to calculate. This will be the minimum distance that he has to travel to go to the post office and the bank and then come back. This is 800. 150 plus 250 is 400 plus 400 is another 800. This is 1000. And then this is 600. So this is 1600 plus 1000, 2600 plus 600 is 3200. So the minimum distance he has to walk will be 3200. Let us look at the next question. One person enters the gated area and decides to walk as much as possible before leaving the area without walking any path more than once. Okay, he has to walk all the paths, as many paths as possible only once. He can't walk the same path twice. And he always wants to walk next to the lakes. This is lake 1, lake 2 and then lake 3. How much distance will he walk in the gated area? He can cross a point multiple times. So the path that he will have to take is C, F, G, J, K, N, M, L, K, F, E, D and C. So basically, if you are looking at it like this, he will come from C to F, then he will go to G, then come back to J, then come to K, go back to N, go to M, go to L. This is again coming back to K, then go to F, then E, D and C. He'll go through points K and F 2 times, but I think all the paths he will go only once. So this is the total distance that he'll have to walk. If you're looking at it, this is basically the perimeter of C, D, E, F, which is this lake. What is the perimeter of the first lake? One side is 400, the other side is 300. So the perimeter will be 1400. Plus, he is walking through the second lake. Again, the perimeter of this lake. What is the perimeter of G, F, J, K? That will be one side is 200, other side is 300. So this will be 1000. Plus the third lake. What is the perimeter of the third lake? One side is 400, other side is 300. This is K, L, M, N. And this perimeter is 1400. So the maximum distance he can walk is 1400 plus 1000 plus 1400, which is 3800. Let us look at the next question. One resident walks within the gated area starting from A. So this guy is starting from A, and he returns to A without going through any point more than once. Okay, he'll have to only go through A twice. What is the maximum distance that she can walk in this way? So if you're looking at the maximum distance that he has to walk, we will try to maximize and try to go through the points in as long way as possible. So that will be A, H, I, P, O, J, K, N, M, L, E, D, C, F, G, B, A. Essentially, we are trying to take as long route as possible to reach it. So for example, A like this is coming, he is going like this, then he is coming like this, he is going like this, he is coming like this, he is going like this, he is coming like this. This is E, this is D, he is coming like this, he is coming like this, he is coming like this. This is the path that he'll take. Note that there are many other possibilities for him to actually go from A to A in maximizing, but the answer will not change. Whatever route that you're taking, it will either be lesser or more. How do I know it? You have to just do a lot of trial and error to figure it out. One thing that you would notice is if you're using the hypotenuse, the number will actually decrease, it will not increase if you're actually following the rules. Because many times what we notice is if you're going through the hypotenuse, it is very difficult to actually not go to the same point twice. For example, if you're looking at HGI, the triangle, if you're going through H, G and I, if you're using that GI hypotenuse, going to J and P, both of them at the same time will not happen. You will probably miss out on one of the points. So many times we'll notice that if you're using the hypotenuse, you will not be actually maximizing the distance, you will be minimizing the distance. You can check it out if you're not sure. And to solve these kind of questions, there is no trick, there is no nothing which is like super smart. You have to just go through all the paths and try to figure out which of them will be the largest. In this particular case, one of the largest will be this. You will get the same answer in multiple other ways. For example, he can go through the same one in the reverse direction. In that way also he'll get it. You can calculate how much it will be. This is A and this is P. What is the distance between A and P? This is 1000. Similarly, this is M and this is D. What is the distance between M and D? This also is 1000. P, O and N. PO is 150. This JK will be 300 and NM is another 300. Similarly, this is C and this is B. CD is 300. This also is 300 and this is 150. The only difference is this one will be 400. This one will be 400. This also is 400. And this also is 400. So the total distance, if you calculate that this guy can walk is, this is 1000 plus 1000, that is 2000. Plus this is 150, 300, 300 is 750. Plus 300, 300, 150 is another 750. Plus he has 400s 4 times, that is 1600. So the total is 750 plus 750 is 1500 plus 1600 is 3100 plus 2000 is 5100. So the answer for this question is 5100. Like I mentioned earlier, there is no real trick in this kind of questions. You have to just calculate most of the routes and then figure out which of them is actually the longest. In these kind of questions, what I would suggest you to do is, because this is a theta question, you should definitely attempt it. Try once or twice, try 2-3 routes, figure out which of them is seeming to be the longest and then put an answer and go forward. Because if you try for accuracy in these kind of questions, it will waste you a lot of time and you can never be really accurate. To be really honest, when I was actually solving it, myself, the first answer I got was around, I think, 4,900 or 5,000. But once the actual response sheet came and the actual answer was there, which was 5,100, then I tried to figure out what is the way in which I can actually get 5,100, and then I found a way in which the answer was actually matching. But again, like I mentioned, these are not the kind of questions that you can do with a lot of accuracy in an examination. And it is okay. If it is a theta question, your accuracy will not be very high any which ways. Let us look at the last question. Visitors coming for morning walks are allowed to enter as long as they do not pass through any of the areas. Okay. What is the maximum distance that such a visitor can walk within a gated area? So this guy has come from C, but he should not visit A, H, L or M. So he'll go from C to B. From B he will go to G. From G, we are looking for maximizing, right? What is the maximum distance? So because we are trying to maximize, we will not use the hypotenuse, because from G to I, if you are using the hypotenuse, you will only travel 250. But suppose you are going from G to J and then to I, you will travel 200 plus 150, which is 350, which is longer. Then we go to I, then P, then O, then N, K, F, E, D and C. So essentially the route we'll use is C to B, B to G, G to J, J to I to P, P to O, O to N, N to K, and K to F, F to E, D and C. This is the total that we will travel. Now this is C. What is CB? CB is 300. This is 300. So this is 600. This is D. DE is 400 here. And EF is, this is 300 here. Now F and this is N. NF is, this is 400 plus 200 is 600. And this is P. NP is 450. Because this is 300 plus 150. And this is I. PI is 400. This is IJ is 150. And this is B. What is JB? JB is 600. So the total distance that he would have walked would be, or she would have walked, is 300, 300, 600, 400, 1000 plus 300, 600, 600 is 1500 plus 450, 150 is 600 plus 400 is 1000. So the total distance he would walk or she would walk is 3500. So the answer for this question is 3500. In this question, we are told that there is an online e-commerce firm. This receives product ratings from 1 to 5 on 3 given days, day 1, day 2 and day 3. The cumulative average after day 1 is 3. So basically the average of day 1 is 3. The cumulative average after day 2 is 3.1. This would imply that the average of day 1 and day 2, both of them combined, is 3.1. We don't know how many people gave rating on day 1, but we know the number of people who gave rating on day 2 as well as the ratings that they gave. If you're looking at the ratings that are given on day 2, what is the total number of people who gave rating? It is 10 plus 20 plus 5 plus 10 plus 5. If you're adding it up, this is 50. So let us draw a table. The table will be simple. It will be something like this. We have day 1, day 2 and day 3. First, we will write down the number of people who gave rating. For day 2, we have just calculated, it is 50 people. That is 10 plus 20 plus 5 plus 10 plus 5. What is the rating on day 2? The average rating on day 2 can be calculated. Similarly, we can also calculate the cumulative rating after day 2. The cumulative rating after day 1 is 3, after day 2 is 3.1. So the rating after day 1 is 3, the rating of day 1. The rating of day 2 can be calculated. What is the rating of day 2? It will be, the average rating of day 2 is 10 into 5, because 10 people gave rating of 5. So this is 10 into 5 plus 20 into 4 plus 5 into 3 plus 10 into 2 plus 5 into 1 divided by the total number of people who gave rating, which we have calculated is 50. That is 10 plus 20 plus 5 plus 10 plus 5, which is 50. If you simplify this, this will be 50 plus 20 is 50 plus 20 into 4 is 80 plus 5 into 3 is 15 plus 10 into 2 is 20 plus 5 divided by 50, which is equal to 170 by 50, which is equal to 3.4. So the average rating of day 2 is 3.4. The average rating of day 1 is 3. The cumulative average at the end of day 2 is 3.1. So we can calculate the number of people who gave rating on day 1. if you assume that the number of people who gave rating on day 1 is A, it would imply that the cumulative rating at the end of the second day is 3A plus 3.4 into 50 is 170 divided by the total number of people who gave rating till the end of the second day, which is A plus 50, is equal to 3.1. Basically, we are taking the weighted average of the ratings of day 1 and day 2. Day 1 is A people gave rating of 3. Day 2 is 50 people gave rating of 3.4. If you cross multiply, we are going to get 3A plus 170 is equal to 3.1A plus 155. Or the value of A can be calculated to equal 150. Now let us look at the data about day 3. We are told that 100 buyers gave product rating on day 3. So the total number of people who gave rating on day 3 is 100. What is the average rating given on day 3? That is not known. But we are given some information. If we are looking at the ratings, out of the total of 100, some people gave a rating of 1, some people gave a rating of 2, some people gave a rating of 3, some people gave a rating of 4, and some people gave a rating of 5. What we are told is that the sum of the total number of people who gave ratings, either 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, is 100, because that is the total number of people who gave rating. The modes of the product rating is 4 and 5. What does this mean? This means that the maximum number of product ratings were given to both 4 and 5. So this would imply that if you assume that the number of people who gave rating for 4 is Y, the number of people who gave rating for 5 is Y. What is mode? If you are given a list of numbers, the number which occurs the maximum number of times is called the mode. For example, if here you have 100 ratings, but we can't, to explain it because we can't write it as 100. Suppose we are given say 10 ratings. Let the 10 ratings be 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 8. These are 10 ratings. Now these 10 ratings, some of them is 3, which is 1. The number of ratings which are 4 is 1. The number of ratings which are 5 is 3. There are 3 times that 5 has occurred. 6 occurs once, 7 occurs once, 8 occurs 3 times. So the modes of this distribution, the modes of this series of 10 numbers is 5 and 8. They are occurring the maximum number of times. Now suppose 5 occurs one more time. Then the mode of this series will be only 5. It won't be 8. Whatever occurs the maximum number of times is called the mode. If there are 2 modes, it would imply that both of them occur the maximum number of times and both of them occur the same number of times. So in this particular case, 4 and 5 occur the maximum number of times and 4 and 5 occur the same number of times. So let us assume that both of them occur by times each. The numbers of buyers giving each product rating are non-zero multiples of 10. So basically all the ratings are given by non-zero multiples of 10. It is either 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50. The same number of buyers gave product rating of 1 and 2. So if you assume that X people gave the product rating 1, X people gave the product rating 2. That number is half the number of buyers who gave a product rating of 3. So this is 2x. What do we know from this? The sum of all the number of people has to equal 100. So x plus 2x plus y has to equal 100. That is 4x plus 2y is equal to 100, or the value of 2x plus y has to equal 50. This is one thing that we know. The second thing we know is because y is the mode, that is the number of people who gave rating of 4 and 5 is the mode, y has to be greater than x, y has to be greater than x, and y has to be greater than 2x. So now you have the sum of two numbers which equal 50. Both of them are multiples of 10 and one is greater than the other. The only possibility for this is if y is equal to 30 and x is equal to 10. Because if x is equal to 20 over here, 2x will be 40 and y will be 10. That is not possible. If x is equal to 10, then this will work out. For any other case, for any other multiple of 10, this won't work out. This would imply that on day 3, rating 1 was given by 10 people, rating 2 was given by 10 people, rating 3 was given by 20 people, rating 4 was given by 30 people, and rating 5 was given by 30 people. So what is the average rating of everybody who gave rating on day 3? The average will be 10 into 1 plus 10 into 2 plus 20 into 3 plus 30 into 4 plus 30 into 5 divided by the total number of people who gave rating, which is 100. This is equal to 10 plus 20 plus 60, that is 90, plus 120, 210, plus 150 is 360. So this is 360 by 100, which is equal to 3.6. So the average rating of people on day 3 is 3.6. What is the cumulative rating? The cumulative rating can be calculated. The cumulative rating is the average of all the ratings given till day 3. That is 150 into 3, which is the rating given on the first day, plus 50 into 3.4, which is the rating given for day 2, plus 100 into 3.6, which is the rating given for day 3, divided by 150 plus 50 plus 100. 150 into 3 is 450, plus 50 into 3.4 is 170, plus this is 360, divided by 300. This is equal to 980 divided by 300, which will be 98 divided by 30, which will come to 3.266. Let us go ahead and answer the questions that follow. How many buyers gave rating on day 1? The number of people who gave rating on day 1 is 150. What is the daily average rating of day 3? The daily average rating of day 3 is 3.6. What is the median of all the ratings given on day 3? On day 3, we know that 10 people gave a rating of 1. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. 1 occurs 10 times. Dot, 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 dot. 2 occurs another 10 times. So we have 2, 2, 2, dot, 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 2, 2. This occurs another 10 times. Total of 20 is done. 3 occurs 20 times. So we have 3, 3, dot, 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 3. This occurs 20 times. So 40 are done. Then we have 4 occurs 30 times. So we have 4, 4, dot, 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 till 4. This occurs 30 times. So 70 are done. And 5 occurs 30 times. So 5, 5, dot, 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 till 5. This occurs 30 times. What is the median of a series? Median of a series is when you arrange all the terms of that series in ascending order, the middle term is the median. For example, if you have a series which is when it is arranged in ascending order 2, 3, 8, 9, 15, 20, 25, 30. Suppose we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If there are odd numbers, so suppose there are 31. Suppose there are odd numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. They are arranged in ascending order. So the middle term will be the median. In this particular case, it will be 15. So the median is 15. Suppose you have even terms. That is, suppose this 31 is not there and there are 8 terms. Then the median term will be the average of the 2 middle terms. Because now there are 2 middle terms. The median will be the average of 9 and 15. And what is the average of 9 and 15? It will be 12. So if it is odd, pick the middle term as the median. If the number of terms is even, there will be 2 middle terms. The average of both of them will be the median. In this particular case, we have 100 terms. So we need to pick the 2 middle terms. What are the 2 middle terms? The 2 middle terms will be the terms which is 49 and 50. This is 10, 20, 40 and 70. So both the middle terms will be 4 and 4. That is, the 49th term will be a 4. The 50th term will also be a 4. So the correct answer is that the median will be 4. Let us look at the next question. Which of the following is true about the cumulative average ratings of day 2 and day 3? The cumulative average rating of day 2 is 3.1. We know that. The cumulative average of day 3 is 3.266, which is over here. So the average increase will be 0.166 divided by 3.1 into 100. This will approximately come to 5.3%. So the correct answer is that the cumulative average of day 3 increased by less than 5%. This is not true. It increased by more than 5%. Cumulative average of day 3 decreased from day 2. This also is not true. Cumulative average increased from 3.1 to 3.266. Cumulative average of day 3 increased by percentage between 5 and 8%. This is absolutely correct. This is around 5.3%, which lies between 5 and 8. Cumulative average of day 3 increased by more than 8%. This is not true. So the correct answer is option C. In this question, we are given 2 times, one is in 2019 and one is in 2023. We are given information about 6 companies. The companies are A, B, C, D, E, and F. And for each of the companies, for both of these years, we are given the profit after tax, which is called PAT. We are given the employee strength, this is given by ES. And we are given the percentage of the profit which was spent on research and development. This we are given as PRD. For each of the companies, this information is represented on the X and Y axis as well as the size of the circle. What we mean by that is, for example, if you are looking at 2019 and if you are looking at a company, let us assume that the company is A, which is over here. Now the profit after tax PAT is given by the Y coordinate over here. So that will be 3000. The employee strength is given by the X coordinate, which will be something like this, which is 800. And the PRD, that is the percentage of the profit which is spent on research and development, is given by the area of this circle. The area of the circle you can calculate, you can assume that the radius is approximately 1 unit. Because the diameter seems to be 2 units, this is 1 and this is 1. This is the diameter, it seems to be 2 units. So the radius is 1 unit, based on it we can calculate the area. So the percentage is dependent on the area of the circle. This is the information we know. In these kind of questions, what I normally do is, I don't try to put down all the information that is available into a table, because then it will take a lot of time. What I would normally do is, I would draw 2 tables. So this would be one table. This is for the company, this is for say 2019. This is A, B, C, D, E and F. We have PAT, we have employee strength, and I would calculate the diameter. Based on the diameter, I can calculate the area, diameter for PRD. I would draw one table like this. I'll draw another table for 2023. This is for 2023. It will also have some rows and some columns. This is for 2023. Again, we have A, B, C, D, E and F. We have PAT, we have employee strength, and we have the diameter for PRD. Now we can look at both of the graphs, input all the information, but in most of these cases, because this set has only 4 questions, it is possible that the information is not needed. So putting all that information from the graph to the table is just a waste of time. What I would normally do is, I'll go through the questions and I'll try to find information whatever is there from the graph and I'll put it in the table. If for some question I need to fill the entire table up, then I would fill it up. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it beforehand. So for example, if you're looking at the first question, assume that the annual growth rate in PAT, profit after tax, for the over the previous years remained constant over the years for each of the 6 firms. Which of the firms A, B, C and D have the highest ARG, which is the annual growth rate? What do we need to calculate this? We would need the PAT in 2019, we would need the PAT in 2023. Those 2 things are needed, but we don't need it for all the 6 firms. We have the options, so we'll calculate it only for A, B, C and E. So we need it for A, B, C and E. For A, let us calculate it in 2019. For A, the PAT is 3000. For B, the PAT is 2800. For C, the PAT is 2400. And for E, the PAT is 2400 again. Similarly, in 2023, we'll use this graph. For A, it is 3900. For B, it is 3800. For C, it is 3000. And for E, it is 3500. Now we need the annual growth rate. So we'll compare the values for A, B, C, E. For A, it is 3900 divided by 3000, which is equal to 1.3. For B, it is 3800 divided by 2800, which is 38 divided by 28, which is 19 divided by 14. 19 divided by 14 will be approximately 1.35. You can use your calculator to calculate it. For this, I know that this is 19 by 14. 19 by 14 is 1, 5 by 14. 5 by 14 to approximate it is 50 by 14. 50 by 14 is 14 into 3 is 42. 14 into 3.5 is 49. So I know that it will be approximately 1.35. C is, option C is 3000 divided by 2400. This is 30 divided by 24, which is 5 by 4, which is 1.25. And option E is 3500 divided by 2400, which will be 35 divided by 24. We can use the same trick that I used earlier. This will be 111 by 24. Now 24 into 4 is 96. So this is greater than 1.4 for sure. In fact, it will be, I think, close to 1.46. It is not needed for you to calculate these things mentally. You can use your calculator. But if you are able to calculate it mentally, it will be faster, A. Secondly, even if you don't calculate it accurately, you just need to compare. So you have to basically compare this one and this one to figure out which one is more. You can easily calculate that 111 by 24 is close to 1.5, is definitely greater than 5 by 14. So anyway, all those things are just tricks. So the correct answer is option E. Let us look at the second question. The ratio of the amount of money spent by firm C on R&D in 2019, okay, to 2023. We need to calculate only for firm C in 2019 and 2023. Firm C, we already have the PAT. We will calculate the diameter of the circle in 2023 and 2019, and then we will make an assumption. For C, the diameter in 2019 is not easy to calculate. We know that it is greater than 2 units, the diameter. Maybe it is close to 3 units. So approximately the diameter is close to 3 units. In 2023, it is close to 2 units. I think it is maybe 2 units or maybe slightly lesser, but I'll approximate it to 2 units. So now if I'm calculating the ratio, the percentage is proportional to the area. So the percentage in 2019 is approximately 95%. The percentage, in fact, you can say that it is 3 by 2. So it is 1.5 is the radius, because we assume that the diameter is 3, radius will be half of the diameter. So this will be 1.5 whole square into pi, approximately percentage. For 2023, it will be 1 square, because diameter is 2 units, 1 square into pi percentage. So the ratio of the actual amount spent, this is the percentage of PAT spent, but remember that the PAT is different in both the years. So the ratio will be 2400 into 1.5 into 1.5 divided by 3000. Approximately this should be the answer. So this is 4 divided by 5. This is approximately 9:5. So approximately option D. Let us look at the next question. Which among the firms ACEF has the maximum PAT for employees in 2023? So we need to calculate the employee strength, we need to calculate the PAT. For A, C and E, we already have the PAT in 2023. We'll calculate it even for F. For F, the PAT is 3200. So we need the employee strength for A, C, E and F for 2023. For A, it is 1300. For C, it is 800. For E, it is 1400. And for F, it is 1000. Which of them is the highest? We have to calculate the ratio. Ratio of PAT is to employee strength. That will be the PAT per employee. So for A, it is 3900 divided by 1300, which is exactly 3. For C, it is 3000 divided by 800, which is 30 by 8, which is 15 by 4. 15 by 4 is how much? 3.75. For E, it is 3500 divided by 1400, which will be 35 divided by 14. 35 divided by 14 is, both of them are multiples of 7. So it is 5 by 2, which is 2.5. And for F, it is 3.2. 3200 divided by 1000 is 3.2. So for which one of them is it the highest? The highest is for company C, which is option D. Let us look at the last question. Which among the following firms C, D, E and F had the least amount of R&D spending per employee in 2023? So we need the employee strength, we need the PAT, and we also need the percentage of diameter for these firms, which is C, D, E, F. Let us first calculate that and then we'll come back. So for what are the companies we need it? We need it for C, D, E and F. We need PAT, employee strength and the diameter, because then we will understand how much research did they do, what is the amount that is spent on research, and divided by the employee strength. So let us do it. For C we have all the information. For D the PAT is 2400, employee strength is 800. For the remaining two, we already have the PAT and the employee strength. We need the diameter. For C, it is 2 units. For D, also it is 2 units. For E, it is 3 units. For F, also it is 2 units. So if you are calculating it for each of them, let me clear all of this off. For C, D, E and F. For C, the total amount spent on research will be 3000, which is the PAT, into diameter is 2, so radius will be 1, so 1 square, divided by the employee strength, which is 800. For D, it is PAT is 2400 into diameter is again 2 units, so radius will be 1 unit, so again it is 1 square divided by 800. For E, it is 3500, which is the PAT, into, now diameter is 3 units, so it is 1.5 whole square, because radius will be 1.5, divided by 1400. And for F, it is 3200 into, again the diameter is 1, so 1 square divided by 1000. We are required to calculate which of them is the least. Now it is obviously not C, because if you are comparing C and D, D is lesser. D is actually equal to 3. This is 3.2. So it won't be F also, it has to be either D or E. 3500 divided by 1400 we know is 2.5. So this is 2.5 into 2.25, which will be definitely greater than 5, because 2.5 into 2 is 5, so it won't be even option E. So the firm which spent the least on research per employee is firm D, which is option B. In this question, we are told that there are 8 gymnastic players. They are numbered from 1 to 8. They underwent a training camp and they were coached by 3 coaches. The 3 coaches are Zena, Yuki and Zara. So let us write it down. We have Zena, Yuki and Zara. All of them coached at least 2 players. Each coach trained at least 2 players. Yuki trained only even numbered players. Okay, Yuki trained only even numbered players. Zara trained only odd numbered players. Okay. After the camp, the coaches evaluated the players and gave integer ratings. The respective players trained by them on a scale from 1 to 7. 1 is the lowest and 7 is the highest. Okay. Zena trained more players than Yuki. So we are told that Zena trained more players than Yuki. What does this mean? The total number of players is 8. Yuki and Zena and Zara, all of them trained at least 2 players. So this would imply that Yuki, for example, cannot train 3 players. Because if Yuki trains 3 players, Zena has to train at least 4 players. And if Zara trains 2 players, this total is coming up to 9. So the only possibility is that either if you're looking at Zena, Yuki and Zara, and we are looking at the number of players that each one of them has trained, it has to be either 3, 2 and 3, this is totaling up to 8, or it will be 4, 2, 2. The reason I write these kind of things is because then it makes the picture clearer in my head. So these are the 2 cases that are possible about the number of players that each one of them has trained. Player 1 and player 4 were trained by the same coach. So that coach cannot be Yuki, because Yuki trained only even numbered players. Similarly, that player cannot be Zara, because Zara trained only odd numbered players. 1 is odd, 4 is even, so that has to be Zena. So Zena trained player 1 as well as player 4. This is completely done. While the coaches trained player 2, 3 and 5 were all different. So 2, 3 and 5, one of them was trained by Zena, one of them was trained by Yuki, and one of them was trained by Zara. If you're looking at the numbers 2, 3 and 5, player 2 has to be trained by Yuki. Why is that the case? Because player 3 cannot be trained by Yuki, player 5 cannot be trained by Yuki. So player 2 has to be definitely trained by Yuki. And player 3 and 5, one of them is trained by Zara, one of them is trained by Zena. So with respect to players 3 and 5, either Zena trained them or Zara trained them. Player 5 and 7 were trained by the same coach and got the same rating. Okay, now if you are looking at players 5 and 7, they were trained by the same coach. That coach can be either Zena or Zara. So let us try to think it through. What are the odd numbers? The odd numbers are 1, 3, 5, 7. What are the even numbers? They are 2, 4, 6, 8. If you are looking at the players trained by Zara, that is not 1 because player 1 is trained by Zena. It is one of 3 or 5. Either 3 or 5. The only other possibility is that player 7 also has to be Zara. The number of players trained by Zara is either 2 or 3. It is either 3 or 2. But because 3 and 5 are trained by 2 separate coaches and 1 is trained by Zena, this would imply that player 7 has to be trained by Zara. Why is that the case? Because if player 7 is not trained by Zara, there are no other odd numbers left. So the number of players trained by Zara will become equal to 1. But we know that each of the coaches has trained at least 2. This would imply that player 7 has to be trained by Zara. And using this information that player 5 and player 7 were trained by the same coach, it would imply that this has to be player 5 and this has to be player 7. And now the two remaining players, player 6 and 8, has to be, one of them will be trained by Yuki and one of them will be trained by Zena. So the case we are looking at is this 4-2-2. Again, for you, if you are getting confused, we know that 3 and 5 are trained. One of them is trained by Zena, one of them is trained by Zara. Player 1 is trained by Zena. We know that Zara is taught, Zara is only training odd numbered people, and at least 2 players are taught by Zara. So the only possibility is that player 7 has to be taught by Zara. And because player 5 and 7 are trained by the same coach, both of them will be from Zara. And they got the same rating. So if you assume that the rating they got is say A, both of them got the same rating. All other players got unique rating. Let me clear this up. So all the other players got unique rating. What does this mean? The total number of players is 8. So if you are looking at 7 unique ratings, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. And the 8th rating is this A. Now if A is equal to 1, both of them would have gotten 1, 1. If A is equal to 2, both of them would have gotten 2, 2. If A is equal to 3, both of them would have gotten 3, 3 and so on. But we don't know what is the value of A, but whatever is the value of A, that number is between 1 and 7 and that is the only number which will be repeated 2 times. Next we are told that the average rating of all the players was 4. Okay, if the average rating of all the 8 players is 4, the sum of all of their ratings will be 32. This would imply that 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus A is equal to 32. Because we have 7 unique numbers and basically A is one of those 7 numbers which is repeated again. This, what is the value of 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus ... till 7? That is 28. So 28 plus A is equal to 32 or the value of A is 4. So the ratings that 5 and 7 got is 4 each. So this guy got 4, this guy got 4. What are the ratings that the remaining 6 people got? The remaining 6 people got 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 and 7. We don't know who got what, but these are the ratings which are left. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Player 2 got the highest rating. So player 2 got the rating of 7. The 5 remaining ratings are 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. The average ratings of the players trained by Yuki was twice that of the players trained by Zena. Okay. If you are looking at the average ratings, and 2 more than the players trained by Zara. So if you are looking at the average rating over here, if you are calling this A, this is twice the average of the players trained by Zena. So the players trained by Zena, the average will be A by 2. And this is also 2 more than the average of the players that are trained by Zara. So the players trained by Zara, their average rating will be A minus 2. But we already know the average of the 2 people who are trained by Zara. Both of them got 4 each.
So this is equal to 4. So the average rating of the people trained by Yuki will be 6 and the average rating of the people trained by Zena will be 3. Now if the average is 6 and one of them has scored 7, the other person would score 5. We just don't know whether it is player 6 or player 8, but that is 5. So the 4 remaining ratings are 1, 2, 3 and 6. All of them were given by Zena. Player 4's rating was double that of player 8's. What is the rating of player 8? We don't know where is player 8. Player 8 is either with Yuki or with Zara. But player 4 is with Zena. And the rating of player 4 is either 1 or 2 or 3 or 6. Now, if player 8 was with Yuki and if that person scored 5, player 4 would have to score 10, which is not possible. This would imply that this is player 6 over here and player 6 got 5 and player 8 is over here and player 8 also got 1, 2, 3 or 6. So now there are two cases possible. Either player 4 got 6 and player 8 got 3. This is one case. Or the other case is player 4 got 2 and player 8 got 1. But we are told that player 4's rating was less than that of player 5's. We know that player 5 got 4. So this case is not possible. So player 4 got 2 and player 8 got 1. So if you remove 2 and 1, the only two ratings remaining are 3 and 6, which are gotten by 1 and 7 in some order. Now let us go ahead and answer the questions that follow. What best can be concluded about the number of players coached by Zara? Zara coached exactly 2 players. And they are player 5 and player 7. What is the rating of player 7? Player 7 got a rating of 4. What is the rating of player 6? Player 6 got a rating of 5. For how many players can the ratings be determined with certainty? We can determine the ratings of 6 players with certainty. The only 2 players we don't know with certainty are player 1 and player 7. One of them got a rating of 3, one of them got a rating of 6. Who are the players trained by Zena? Zena trained players 1, 4, this is 3, 1, 4, 3 and 8. Which is option B. I think over here when we are writing player 3 and 5, there was a typo. It is player 3 and 5 are getting distributed between Zara and Zena. So if Zara is getting player 5, Zena will get player 3.
Google search Cracku CAT formulas PDF. Click on the first link. You will get a list of topics for CAT. Click on one of the topics. Download the PDF to get a list of formulas for the topic.
In this question, we are told that there are 3 lines horizontal and 3 lines vertical. They intersect at 9 points. Amongst the 9 points, there are 6 points which contain ATMs. We are given some information. We have to figure out how much cash is there in each of these ATMs. We are also required to figure out where each of the 6 ATMs are. If you're looking at the information that is given, we are, for example, told that the total cash that is there on the road RA is 22 lakhs. That is this one plus this one plus this one. The total will be equal to 22. Similarly, this one plus this one plus this one, the total will be equal to 21 and so on. We are essentially given only 2 pieces of information. One more additional piece of information is that all of these 6 caches, the amount is unique. It is a distinct integer. That is one information. And in addition to it, you are given these 2 informations. The first information is that the ATMs with the minimum and maximum cash requirement of 7 lakhs and 15 lakhs are placed on the same road. Now clearly the sum of 7 plus 15 is 22. So both of them have to be placed on RA. That is the only straight line which is totaling up to 22. Because this is 22, this is 20, this is 20, this is 26, 21 and 15. So the possibility is that these 3, that is the intersection of RA and V1, RA and V2 and RA and V3, they have to consist of 7 and 15. 2 of them have to be 7 and 15. The next thing is the road distance between the ATM with the second highest cash. Remember that the highest is 15. Water is the second highest ATM and the ATM at the intersection of RC and V3 is 12 kilometers. What is RC? This is RC and this is V3. The intersection is this point.
The distance between this point and the ATM with the second highest cache is 12 kilometers. So now we can try to figure out where is the ATM with the second highest cache. Because this is 7 kilometers and this is 5 kilometers. The only possibility is that that second highest should be over here. That is the information. So over here, this has to be the second highest. So let us try to understand exactly what is the pieces of information that we have. One thing we know is that the total of all the 6 ATMs can be calculated. The total of all the 6 ATMs will be 22 plus 20 plus 20, which is totaling up to 62 lakhs. That is the sum of all the rows is totaling up to 62. Just to ensure that we are understanding the set correct, you can total up all the columns also. That also will total up to 62. That is 15 plus 21 plus 26 is also equal to 62. So the cash in all the 6 ATMs combined is equal to 62. We know the amount which is the lowest, that is equal to 7. We know the amount which is highest, which is 15. There are 4 amounts left, so let them be A, B, C and D. The sum of the remaining is equal to 62 minus 7 minus 15, or basically the sum of the remaining 4 is A plus B plus C plus D. This has to be equal to 40 lakhs. What is the other thing that we know? We know that 7 and 15 are in the row RA. So we'll try to figure out what is the value of the amount which is at the intersection of RA and V2, because we have some information about V2. We know that V2 contains the second highest amount. So if you assume that if say this amount is 15, then we will clearly get a contradiction. Because if this amount is 15, the total of V2 is 21. So the second highest has to be 6, which is clearly not possible. So this is not 15. Now, can this be 7? If this is 7, the second highest has to be 14, because over here we are the total of V2 has to be 21, and this would imply that because this is in RB, the amount over here has to be 6. The intersection of RB and V3, this has to be 6, because this has to total up to 20. This also is not possible, so this is not even equal to 7. So essentially one thing we can immediately figure out is that if you are looking at RA, RB and RC, 7 and 15 have to be either in VA or in V3. In RA, this has to be either 7 or 15. Similarly, this has to be 7 or 15. This one over here has to be empty. So that is 0. This one, like we mentioned, has to be second highest. We don't know what is it, but we know that it is second highest. And we know that the sum of all the elements in V2 is 21. So the second highest plus the amount over here, this has to total up to 21. Which would essentially imply that this D, which is the second highest, plus probably A over here or some number over here, they are totaling up to 21. So if they are totaling up to 21, the sum of the middle two has to be equal to 19. So we are going to get 21 as the sum of 2 numbers out of the remaining 4, and the sum of the remaining 2 has to be equal to 19. Now we can do some investigation to figure out what is this 21. The way in which we can get 21 is if the second highest is 14, because remember that the highest is 15. If the second highest is 14, the other number has to be 7. But that is not possible because 7 is already present in RA. So this number over here cannot be equal to 7. So 14 and 7 doesn't happen. If the second highest is 13, the partner for it will be 8. So essentially in that particular case, this will be 13 and this will be 8, which seems to be fine. There is no contradiction. So 13 and 8 is a possibility, which would imply that the sum of the remaining 2 numbers, which have to total up to 19, has to be 10 and 9. Because that number cannot be 12 and 7, because 7 shouldn't be part of it. 7 is already taken. It cannot be 11 and 8, because over here we have 8. So the only possibility is 10 and 9. This seems to be completely fine. That is, the remaining 4 numbers can be 13, 8 and 10 and 9. There is no contradiction. What will happen if the second highest number is 12? If the second highest number is 12, its partner has to be 9. So basically we are saying that in that case, this is 12 and 9. And the sum of the remaining 2 is equal to 19. So it can be 11 and 8. Can it be 10 and 9? 10 and 9 cannot happen because already 9 is there. So this is the other possibility. So both these seem to be fine. There is no immediate contradiction. Now if you think about it, if say the second highest is 13, that will come over here. So if this is 13 and if this is 8 and it is adding up to 13 plus 8 is 21, what is the amount that will be there in the intersection of RB and V3? Because the sum of VB has to be 20, this over here has to be 7, or this has to be 7. One of these two has to be 7. Either this is 7 or this is 7, because the sum of all the elements in RB has to equal to 20, which is not possible. So this would imply that this also is not possible. So the only alternative is that the remaining 4 numbers, the smallest is 7, the highest is 15, the second highest has to be 12, the third highest has to be 11, the next one has to be 9, and the next one has to be 8. This is the only possibility. Once we know this possibility, let us put down the information that we have over here. Again, we'll have RA over here, we'll have RB over here, we'll have RC over here, we have V1, V2 and V3. The second highest is 12, this is 0 like we mentioned, so this will be equal to 9. This is one possibility, this is 7 or 15. Similarly, this also is 7 or 15. We don't know which one is 7 and which one is 15. Let us consider both the cases. In the first case, we will assume that this is 7 and this is 15. In the next case, we will assume that this is 15 and this is 7. This will be RA in the second case, this will be RB and this will be RC. This is 12 and this is 9. This much we know. Now what is the sum of all the elements in V1? The sum of all the elements in V1 is 15. This would imply that in the second case, this has to be 0, this has to be 0, because we want this sum to be equal to 15. And this sum is 21, which is fine. What is the sum of all the elements in RB? The sum of all the elements in RB is 20. So this would imply that this has to be 8 and this will be 11. So this is totaling up to 26. The sum of all the rows also will match. 15 plus 7, this is 22. 12 plus 8 is 20. 11 plus 9 is 20. So in the second case, there is no contradiction. Let us look at the first case. Here, what is the sum of all the elements in V1? Again, the sum of all the elements in V1 is 15. So either this has to be 8 or this has to be 8. Now, if RC has an 8, that is, if the intersection of RC and V1, if this is 8, the sum of all the elements in RC will be 8 plus 9 is 17. We want this to be 20, which is not possible. We will need then that one of the number has to be 3, which is a contradiction. So the only possibility is that this number has to be 8 over here. So the sum of all the elements in RB now is already 20. So this will be 0. We want all the elements in V3 to add up to 26. So this will be 11 and this will be 0. So now if you are totaling all the elements in V1, this is totaling up to 15. In V2, they are totaling up to 21. In V3, they are totaling up to 26. Similarly, all the elements in RA are totaling up to 22. All the elements in RB are totaling up to 20. And all the elements in RC are totaling up to 20. Again, there is no contradiction. So this is a valid case. This is a valid case. There are two valid cases possible. Now let us go ahead and answer the questions that follow. Which of the following statement is correct? If you look at the options, this we are talking about the ATM that is placed in the intersection of RC and V2. That is RC and V2. This is what we are looking at. Now you would see that in both the cases that is containing 9 lakhs. So the correct answer is that the ATM placed in RC and V2 has a cash requirement of 9 lakhs. How many ATMs cash requirement has 10 lakhs or more? There will be 3 ATMs. One of them has 11, one of them has 12, one of them has 15, which have a cash requirements of 10 or more. Which of the following statements is or are definitely true? Each of RA, RB and RC has 2 ATMs. In the first case, RA has 2, RB has 2, RC has 2. So that is valid. In the second case, RA has 2, RB has 2, RC has 2. So in both the cases, this is true. So it is definitely true. Each of V1, V2 and V3 has 2 ATMs. Let us look at the first case. In the first case, V1 has 2, V2 has 2 and V3 has 2. So in the first case, V1 has 2, V2 has 2 and V3 has 2. So it is true. In the second case, V1 has 1.
V2 has 2 and V3 has 3. So this statement is not true in the second case. So this is sometimes true. It is true in one case, it is false in one case. But we are required to calculate which of the following statements is or are definitely true. So that will be only statement A. What best can be said about the route distance between the ATMs having the second highest and the second lowest cash requirement? So we are looking for 12 and 8. What is the distance between the ATMs having 12 and 8? In the first case, 12 and 8 are separated by this distance. That distance is equal to 4 kilometers. So this will be in the first case 4 kilometers. In the second case, 12 and 8 are separated over here. This distance is 7 kilometers. So the distance between the second highest and the second lowest is either 4 or 7 kilometers. What is the number of ATMs whose locations and cash requirements can both be uniquely determined? The position of 7 cannot be determined uniquely. It is in RA, but whether it is in the intersection of RA and V1 or RA and V3 cannot be uniquely determined. So it is not 7. Similarly, for 15 also we know that it is in RA, but whether it is in the intersection of V3 or V1 is not known. So it is not 15 also. Amongst 8, 9, 11 and 12, even for 8 we can't determine it uniquely. We know that it is in RB, but whether it is in the intersection of RB and V1 or RB and V3 we don't know. However, 12 is always in the middle. So this is uniquely determined. 9 is definitely in the intersection of RC and V2. So this also is uniquely determined. 11 also is in the intersection of RC and V3. That also is uniquely determined. So we can determine the locations of 9, 12 and 11. So the correct answer is 3. In this question, we are given a table which has some missing values. It contains different types of food grains. There are some cereals, there are some millet, there are some pseudo cereals. There are 2 cereals, 3 millets and 2 pseudo cereals. Each one of these food grains has some carbohydrate, some protein, some fat and some other nutrient. The sum of all of them for each of the 7 food grains is equal to 100. In addition to it, we are given some information. We'll use this information to fill the table. We are told that both the pseudo cereals have higher amounts of carbohydrates as well as higher amounts of protein than any millet. So millet has lesser carbohydrates over here. So if you're looking at millet, the carbohydrate is less than 66 at least, and the protein is less than 14. Because we know that there is one pseudo cereal P1 which has 66 carbohydrate, and there is one pseudo cereal P2 which has protein which is 14. Similarly, both the cereals, if you're putting it as cereals, have higher carbohydrate than any pseudo cereal. So the carbohydrate is definitely greater than 66, because we know that one of the pseudo cereal has carbohydrates of 66. We're just keeping track of the information. We'll use it later. All the missing values of the carbohydrates in grams in food grains are non-zero multiples of 5. So carbohydrates over here will be of the form 5x. All the missing values of protein, fat and other nutrients for all food grains are non-zero multiples of 4. So protein is of the form 4a, this is of the form 4b and this is of the form 4c. Just remembering that all of them are multiples of 4. P1 contained double the amount of protein that M3 contained. So if P1 is over here, this will be a multiple of 4. So let us assume that this is 8a, this will be 4a. Why is that the case? Because we know that the protein that is contained in millet 3 is of the form 4a. Therefore, the protein that is contained in P1 is 8a. With this information, we will try to calculate the values of the numbers. And one of the big informations that we have is that all of them are multiples of 5 as well as multiples of 4. We'll use that. For example, if you are looking at carbohydrate C1 and C2, if you're looking at cereal, if the amount of carbohydrate in cereal C1 is say 5x and the amount of protein is say 4y, 5x plus 4y plus 0 plus 12 will be equal to 100, or the value of 5x plus 4y is equal to 88. What do you know about 5x? This is the carbohydrate that is contained in a cereal. This has to be greater than 66. So we are looking for the carbohydrate in cereal C1. It has to be greater than 66 and it has to be a multiple of 5. So one value is that this is 70 and this is 18.
but 4y, this 18 has to be a multiple of 4, so this is not possible. Or this can be 75 and 13. Again, that is not possible because 13 is not a multiple of 4. Or this will be 80 and this is 8. This is valid because 80 is a multiple of 5, 8 is a multiple of 4. The only other possibility is 85 and 3, but 3 is not a multiple of 4. Essentially, we are trying to figure out what are the values for the carbohydrate and protein in C1. The only possibility is that this is 80 and this is 8. We'll do the same for C2. The sum of the carbohydrate in C2, if you assume, is 5x, and the amount of protein, if you assume, is 4y. This has to be equal to, because the remaining two are adding up to 3 plus 10, which is 13. These two have to add up to 87, because the total of all the ingredients has to be equal to 100. Now, this 5x has to be greater than 66, because the amount of carbohydrate in the cereals is greater than the amount of carbohydrates in the pseudo cereals. One of the pseudo cereals has 66. So this has to be greater than 66 and it has to be a multiple of 5. So this is either 70 or 75 or 80 or 85. 70, if the multiple of 5 is 70, the multiple of 4, because the sum of these two has to be 87, this has to be 17. 17 is not a multiple of 4, so this is not valid. If the multiple of 5 is 75, this will be 12. This is a multiple of 4, that is valid. 80 would imply that this has to be 7. This is not a multiple of 4. If the multiple of 5 is 85, this will be 2, which is not a multiple of 4. So that also is not valid. So there is only one possibility. This has to be 75 and this has to be 12. Similarly, if you are looking at the millets and the pseudo cereals, if you are looking at the pseudo cereal P1, the amount of carbohydrate is 66 plus the amount of protein we assumed is 8A, plus there will be some fat. Let us assume that this is 4B because it is a multiple of 4, plus 10, this has to be equal to 100. Or this 8A plus 4B, this has to be equal to 24. So there are two possibilities. Either the multiple of 8 is 8, in which case the multiple of 4, this has to be 16, or the multiple of 8 will be 16 and the multiple of 4 is 8. These two are the possibilities. Can we say anything about the multiple of 8 over here? What we know is that the amount of protein in any pseudo cereal is greater than that in any millet. And one of the millets, M1, has a protein of 10. So the amount of protein has to be greater than 10. So this can't be 8 and 16. The only possibility is that this will have to be 16. And therefore this will have to be 8. And the amount of protein in millet M3, which is half of this, therefore this has to be equal to 8. And the other one will be 28 plus 12 is 20 plus 56 is 76. This will be 24. We are looking at another one, which is a millet M2. If you assume that the carbohydrate is say 5x and the amount of protein is say 4y, this plus 7 plus 16, this has to be equal to 100, or 5x plus 4y is equal to, this is 23, so this is 77. What can we say about the amount of carbohydrate in a millet? The amount of carbohydrate in a millet has to be less than the amount of carbohydrate in a pseudo cereal. Similarly, the amount of protein in a millet has to be less than the amount of protein in a pseudo cereal. So this 4y has to be less than 14, which is the amount of protein in pseudo cereal P2. If this is less than 14, we are looking for multiples of 4. So this is either 4 or 8 or 12. These are the only three possibilities. And the sum of these two has to be 77. So the other one has to be either 73 or 69 or 65. We also know that this has to be a multiple of 5. This is the amount of carbohydrate. So the only possibility is 65 and 12. So this will be 65 and this will be 12. Now if you are looking at the amount of carbohydrate in pseudo cereal P2, we know that carbohydrate in a cereal is greater than the carbohydrate in the pseudo cereal, which is greater than the carbohydrate in a millet. Now cereals have 80 and 75. Millets have 56, 62 and 65. So the amount of pseudo cereal has to be greater than 65 and it has to be less than 75. it should also be a multiple of 5. The only possibility is that this has to be 70. If this is 70, 70 plus 14 is 84, plus 8 is 92, so this also will be 8. Now we have filled the entire table to the best of our ability. We'll go ahead and answer the questions that follow. How many food grains have higher amount of carbohydrate per 100 grams than M1? M1 has 62. The numbers which are greater than 62 are 80, 75, 65, 66 and 70. So there are 5. How many grams of protein were there in 100 grams of nutrients in M2? In M2 the number of proteins is 12. How many grams of other nutrients were there in 100 grams of M3? In M3 this will be 24. What is the median of the number of grams of protein in 100 grams of nutrients among these food grains? So we are looking for protein. The protein is 8, 12, 10, 12, 8, 16 and 14. If you are arranging them in ascending order, we have 8 over here. We have another 8 over here. We have a 10 over here. We have two 12s, 12 and 12. We have a 14 and a 16. Median will be the centermost, which will be this 12. There will be 3 which are less than it, and there will be 3 to the right of it. So the median is 12. In this question, we are told that over the top subscribers of a platform come in 3 different categories. They are either kids or elders or others. Similarly, every person can be subscribed to either one platform or multiple platforms. And we are given information about 2 years, 2023 and 2024. So the first thing we'll do is we'll draw a table. It will look something like this. This is 2023 number and this is 2024. Now we'll have in 2023 we'll have some kids. We'll have elders and the others will be the rest. Now, kids in 2023 is 15%, kids in 2024 is 20%, elders in 2023 is 20%, elders in 2024 is 30%. The total number of subscribers increased by 10% from 2023 to 2024. So, if you assume that the total number of people in 2023, the total number of subscribers is say 100x, because they increased by 10% in 2024, in 2024 it will be 110x. In 2023, 15% of the people were kids, so that is 15x. In 2024, it is 20%, so that is 20% of 110x, which will equal 20% of 110x is 22x. Similarly, for elders, in 2023, it is 20% of the total, which will be 20x. And in 2024, it is 30% of total. The total is 110x, so this is 30% of 110x, which is equal to 33x. The rest is others, so others will be 65x. And in case of 2024, it will be 110x minus 33x minus 22x, which is 55x. Now we are told that in 2024, half of the subscribers from kid category and 2/3 of the subscribers from elder category use one app. So now we are discussing one app and multiple apps. So the kids in 2023, the total is 15x. Out of this 15x, some of them use one app and the remaining use multiple apps. This is the same for even 2024. Out of the 22x kids, some of them use one app and some of them use multiple apps. So what we'll do is we'll split this into 2 parts. So we'll say that, okay, this will be kids again. This is 2023 and 2024. But we'll now split it into 2 parts. This is one and this is multiple. This is in 2023. Similarly, over here also we'll split it into 2. This is 2024 kids, one and multiple. We'll have kids. Similarly, we'll have elders also. And we'll have others also. For kids, half of the subscribers in 2024. So half of the subscribers, the total subscribers is 22x, half of them is 11x. So 11x will use multiple apps and 11x will use single apps. And 2/3 of the elders over here, okay, 2/3 of them use one app. 2/3 of 33x, 2/3 of 33x will be 22x will use one app and the remaining 11x will use multiple apps. In 2023, the number of subscribers from the kid category, so we are talking about 2023 kid category, okay, who use multiple apps, this one, was the same as the number of subscribers from the elder category over here, who use one app. So these two are the same. So if you assume that this is say A, this also will be A. Therefore, the number of kids who use one app will be 15x minus A, because the total number of kids in 2023 is 15x. Similarly, the total number of elders who use multiple apps will be 20x minus A, because the total number of elders in 2023 is 20x. 10,000 subscribers from the kid category used one app in 2023. So this would imply that 15x minus A is equal to 10,000. And 15,000 subscribers from the elder category used multiple apps. So this is 20x minus A. So 20x minus A is equal to 15,000. We can subtract one from the other. The left hand side, if you subtract, you're going to get 5x is equal to 5,000, or the value of x is 1,000. This would imply that the value of A has to be equal to 5,000. So we can simplify this, we can update this over here. This will be 15x minus A is given to us, this is 10k. A is equal to 5k, we calculated that. This also is equal to 5k. And this is 20x minus A will be equal to 15k, this also is given to us. The value of x is 1000, so we need not substitute everything over here. Just assume that if it is 11x, it is 11,000. If it is 33x, it is 33,000 and so on, because the value of x we calculated is equal to 1000. Let us go ahead and answer the questions that follow. How many subscribers belong to other category in 2024? In 2024, other category was 55,000, which is option C. What percentage of subscribers in the kid category used multiple apps in 2023? This is 5k out of a total of 10 plus 5 is 15k into 100. This will be equal to 33.33%, which is option A. What was the percentage increase in the number of subscribers in elder category from 2023 to 2024? In 2023 it was 20x, in 2024 it was 33x. So the increase is 13x divided by 20x into 100. This will be 65%, which is option C. What could be the minimum percentage of subscribers who used multiple apps in 2024? What is the total number of subscribers in 2024? It is 110x. How many kids used multiple apps? It is 11x. How many elders used multiple apps in 2024? It is 11x. How many others used multiple apps in 2024? This we don't know. What we do know is that the total number is 55x. Some of them will use one app, the remaining will use multiple apps. If you are trying to minimize the number of people who use multiple apps, we can put this as 0 and this will become 55x. This is because we are trying to minimize the number of people who use multiple apps, which is what we are required to calculate, the minimum percentage. So this percentage will be equal to 22x divided by 110x into 100, which is equal to 20%, which is option B.
In this question, we are given the GDP of 8 countries. We are given the GDP per capita of 8 countries. We are given this as a fraction of GDP of another country. For example, if you are told that the GDP of country 6 is 0.08, the GDP is given as a fraction of GDP of country 9. So if you assume that the GDP of country 9 is A, the GDP of country 6 will be 0.08A. Similarly, if you assume that the GDP per capita of country 10 is B, the GDP per capita of country 6 is 0.08B.
Similarly, for all the years, we are given the GDP growth rate and we are given the population growth rate. One thing that we need to understand when you're solving this question is what is essentially given, which is that GDP per capita is equal to GDP of the country divided by population. So we can also calculate the population of the country. The population of the country is GDP of the country divided by GDP per capita. Now, once we know this, we have to just essentially calculate or compare the populations or the GDP per capita of each of these countries. So we'll go ahead and answer the questions that follow. Which one of the countries from countries 1 to 8 has the lowest population in 2024? We know what we discussed earlier. Population is equal to GDP divided by GDP per capita. So let us look at the four options. Even though it says that from countries 1 to 8, we essentially have to just look at country 8, country 3, country 7 and country 5. So for country 8, what is the GDP? GDP is 0.07. And what is the GDP per capita? It is 0.41. For country 3, which is option B, it is 0.13 divided by 0.02. For country 7, it is 0.08 divided by 0.3. And then we have country 5. For country 5, it is 0.1 divided by 0.36. This is the populations. This is the population with respect to a constant, because we don't know what is the GDP of country 9 and the GDP per capita of country 10. But when you are just comparing, it doesn't really matter. For example, if you assume that, like we discussed earlier, if the GDP of country 9 is say A and the GDP per capita of country 10 is say B, each of these populations will just have a constant. For example, for country 8, the GDP will be 0.07 A and the GDP per capita will be 0.41 B. So this constant of A divided by B will be there in all of the four options. So when you're just comparing which one is higher or which one is lower, it doesn't really matter. So that is the reason we haven't really looked at this GDP of country 9 or GDP per capita of country 10, because that will be the same for all of the options. So we can just ignore it. Now, what are we required to calculate? Here we are required to calculate which of them has the smallest population. So amongst these four, which is the smallest? It will not be country 3 because 0.13 divided by 0.02 is 6.5. This is greater than 1. So it is not this one. If you are just comparing it with country 8, which seems to be something like 7 by 41. This is 8 by 30 and this is 10 by 36. I am just removing the decimals, nothing other than that. 7 by 41 is approximately 1 by 6. So it is lesser than country 7, which is 8 by 30. So 8 by 30 is approximately 1 by 4, or 10 by 36, which also will be approximately 1 divided by 3.5. So it is not even this. So the smallest will be country 8. If you are not sure of the approximations, you can actually calculate it, but it will just waste time. 7 by 41 is very close to 1 by 6. That is clearly the smallest when you are comparing with the four options. So the correct answer is option A. Let us look at the second question. The ratio of country 4's GDP to country 5's GDP in 2026 is closest to. What is country 4's GDP in 2024? That will be, let me clear this, that will be 0.12. 0.12 into water is the constant, but that will get cancelled, so it won't matter. What is the GDP growth rate? It is 0.5%. 0.5%. So if you're multiplying, because we want to calculate the GDP in 2026, it will be basically 1 plus 0.5 divided by 100 whole square. This is the GDP in 2026 of country 4. Similarly, what is the GDP of country 5 in 2024? That is 0.1. What is the GDP growth rate? It is 0.7%. So you have to compound it over 2 years. So this is into 1 plus 0.7 divided by 100 whole square. If you're taking the ratio of GDP of country 4 in 2026 to that of GDP of country 5 in 2026, you have to just take this ratio. 1.2 divided by 1 is basically 1.2 into this fraction. 1 plus 0.5 divided by 100 whole square is basically 100.5 whole square divided by 100.7 whole square, because the 100 square gets cancelled. Now, one thing you'll notice is this will be very close to 1. It is basically 100.5 divided by 100.7 will be very close to 1, but it will be less than 1. So, this overall ratio will be less than 1.2, which is the constant over here, but it will be very close to it. An approximation for this will be, you can say that approximately it will be something like say 0.99. Again, if you are not sure, you can actually calculate, you will figure out that it is true, because 100.5 and 100.7 are actually very close to each other. If you are actually taking the ratio, it will be very close to 1. You are squaring it, still it will remain very close to 1. You are multiplying it with 1.2. So, it will go slightly less than 1.2. If you are looking at the options, you can immediately figure out that the only option which seems reasonable is 1.195. If you are not sure, again you can use the calculator, you will figure out that it will be actually option A, because all the other options are this is less than 1, which is very different from 1.2. This is also very close to 1, which is very different from 1.2, and this is actually greater than 1.2. So, all the remaining 3 are not valid. It will be only option A. If you are not sure, you can just calculate it in your calculator. You will figure out that the correct answer is option A. Which among the countries 1, 4, 5, 7 will have the largest population in 2027? Here we are required to calculate the population in 2027. What do we have? We can calculate the population in 2024. We know GDP of every country and we know the GDP per capita of every country. So, we'll calculate the population on 2024 and then multiply it with the population growth for each of the countries for 3 years. So, we'll have to basically do the cube. This is what we need to calculate, and we are looking for the largest. We want whatever is the largest. What are the 4 options? The first option is country 1. The second option is country 5. The third option is country 7. And the next option is country 4. For country 1, what is the population? The population in 2024. It is 0.15 divided by 0.41. What is the population growth rate? Population growth rate, you will realize, is actually very, very small. In any country, the population growth over years, over a few years will not be a lot. It will be very close to actually 0. So, you can reflect it over here also. It is negative of 0.12%. So, you multiply this with 99.88% whole cube. Again, because we are only comparing it, the denominator of 100 we are removing from all of the 4, because we are just comparing the each of these 4 fractions. What about country 5? The population in 2024 will be GDP, which is 0.1 divided by GDP per capita, which is 0.36 into the growth rate is 0.31. So, you are multiplying it with 100.31 whole cube. For country 7, it is 0.08, which is the GDP, divided by 0.3. This is the population in 2024 into the population growth rate for 3 years, which is negative of 0.11. So, this is 99.89 whole cube. Next is for country 4. For country 4, it is 0.12, which is the current GDP, divided by 0.38. So, this is the population in 2024 into 0.49. So, it is 100.49 whole cube. We have to calculate which of them is the largest. That is what we are looking at. Now, one thing again you will notice is all of them are actually very close to 100. All of them are 100 cube. So, if you are just comparing them, it won't really matter much. If you are looking for 99.88 whole cube and 100 whole cube, the difference will be very small when you are multiplying it. What is most important is this constant term. Which of this constant term is the largest? The first one is 15 by 41. The second one is 1 by 3.6. So, this is 10 by 36. The next one is 0.08 by 0.3. So this is 8 by 30. And the last one is 12 by 38. Which of them is the largest? You don't need to calculate each one of them. You will figure out immediately that this is the only one which is greater than 1 by 3. Because 15 into 3 is 45. So 15 by 41 is actually greater than 1 by 3. This is less than 1 by 3. This is less than 1 by 3. This is less than 1 by 3. So the largest will be 15 by 41. The constant that we are multiplying, all of them are actually very close to 1 because the population growth rate is very, very small. So it won't really impact which of this is actually greater and which of this is lesser. So the correct answer will be country 1, which will be option A. Let us look at the next question. For how many countries from country 1 to country 8 is the GDP per capita in 2027 less than GDP per capita in 2024? One thing you'll notice is we are given the GDP per capita of 2024. We are given the GDP growth rate, we are given the population growth rate. We are not given the GDP per capita growth rate. So we'll try to infer it. GDP per capita in 2027 is basically GDP in 2027 divided by population in 2027. What is GDP in 2027? This is basically GDP in 2024 into the population growth over 3 years, population growth rate. Sorry, it is not population growth rate, it is GDP growth rate. So GDP in 2027 is GDP in 2024 into GDP growth rate. Similarly, population in 2027 is population in 2024 into population growth rate. Now what we are required to do is GDP in 2024 divided by population in 2024 is actually GDP per capita of 2024. We are required to calculate for how many of them is GDP per capita of 2027 less than GDP per capita of 2024. So for any country, if the GDP per capita of 2027 less than the GDP per capita of 2024, it would imply that the GDP growth rate has to be less than population growth rate. Because this is the GDP per capita of 2027. GDP per capita of 2027 is GDP per capita of 2024 into GDP growth rate divided by population growth rate. So GDP growth divided by population growth. This is the GDP per capita of 2027. If you are told that GDP per capita of 2027, which is this, is less than GDP per capita of 2024, you can just cancel GDP per capita of 2024. So it would imply that GDP growth rate has to be less than population growth rate, which is over here. For how many countries is the GDP growth rate less than population growth rate? If you're looking at it, it is not true for the first one, it is not true for the second one. And if you look at all of them, for each of the countries, the GDP growth rate is actually greater than the population growth rate. So this is not true for any of the 8 countries that are given. So the correct answer is 0. In this question, we are told that there is an AC and there are 2 modes of switching the AC on. One is the regular mode, in which the temperature of the room meets the temperature of the set temperature within 1 hour. And then there is the power mode, where the temperature of the room becomes the temperature that was set in 30 minutes, that is in half an hour. And the third mode is basically when the AC is switched off. When the AC is switched off, the temperature becomes equal to the outside temperature when it was shut off in 1 hour. These are the 3 modes in which the AC actually functions. One thing that you notice when you're looking at this graph is that If the AC is in a regular mode, the temperature will go down. When the AC is in a power mode, the temperature will go down, but it will go down faster because the AC will cool quicker. It just reaches half an hour to reach the required temperature. It will go up only when the AC is switched off. So now if you are looking at it, at this point the AC is switched off. At this point also the AC is switched off. We can try to figure out the temperature that is outside, because we are told that the temperature outside is also decreasing at a steady rate. It is decreasing from 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. But because the graph is given from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m., we'll write it down. At 11 p.m., we don't know the temperature outside. At 11:30 p.m., we don't know the temperature outside. At 12, we don't know the temperature outside. At 12:30 a.m., we don't know the temperature outside. But we will fill all of this up. It is not difficult to fill it up. At 1 a.m., it is outside. At 1:30, outside. And at 2, we don't know what is the temperature outside. But like I mentioned earlier, we definitely know that the AC was switched off over here and the AC was switched off over here, because these are the only 2 points when the temperature is actually going up, and the temperature will go up only if the AC is shut off. Now from 12 to 12:30, the temperature went from 26 to 31. So if the AC was shut off for 1 hour, what would the temperature have been? The temperature after 1 hour would have been 36, because the temperature increased by 5 degrees in half an hour. In the next half an hour also it would have increased by 5 degrees. So basically what we are told is that the temperature outside at 12 o'clock when the AC was shut off was 36. Similarly, if you are looking at 1 a.m. when the AC was shut off, the temperature in the room was 26. After half an hour it became 30. After another half an hour it would have increased by another 4, so it would have become 34. So the temperature outside when the AC was shut off at 1 is 34. Another way of looking at it is that at 11 a.m. the temperature outside will be equal to 38. That is essentially given because the AC was not started at that time. So you can see from all of these points that at 11 it is 38, at 12 it is 36, at 1 it is 34, so at 2 it is 32. So it is basically going down by 2 degrees every hour. So here it will be 37, here it will be 35, and here it will be 33. This is the first thing that we know. Next, if you are looking at the intervals are between say 11 p.m. to 11:30. Then you have 11:30 to 12. We are looking at half an hour intervals to figure out whether the AC was in regular mode or power mode or was it switched off. Then you have from 12 to 12:30. Then you have from 12:30 to 1. Then you have from 1 to 1:30. And finally you have from 1:30 to 2. One thing we already know is that for 12 to 12:30 it was switched off. Similarly from 1 to 1:30 it was switched off. We need to figure out for the remaining 4 half an hours, was it in regular or was it in power? Over here it was told to us that the AC was in power mode for longer duration than the regular mode. So amongst the remaining 4, it is possible that either power is in 3 half an hours and regular was in 1, or power was in 4 half an hours and regular was in 0. Essentially we are saying that it can't happen that amongst this half an hour, this half an hour, this half an hour and this half an hour, there are 4 half an hours that are left. Either power is either the AC is in power mode in 3 of them or 4 of them, because we know that the AC was in power mode more often than it was not. This is basically the information that we know. We can dwell into it deeper, but let us first answer some of the questions. How many times was the AC turned off between 11:01 and 1:59? There are 2 times the AC was switched off. In those 2 times, the temperature in the room increased, and only when the temperature increased do we know that the AC is switched off. So that happened at 12 and it happened at 1. What was the temperature outside in degrees centigrade at 1 a.m.? At 1 a.m., the temperature outside was 34. What was the temperature outside in degrees centigrade at 9 p.m.? We know that every hour the temperature is going down by 2 degrees. At 12 it is 36, at 11 it is 38, so at 10 it would be 40,
and at 9 it would be 42. 9 it is 42, 10 it is 40, 11 38, 12 36, 1 34 and 2 32. Anyway, the temperature outside at 9 p.m. is 42. What best can be concluded about the number of times the AC must have been either turned on or the AC setting been altered between 11:01 and 1:59? One thing we know for certain is that the AC was definitely turned on at 1:30 a.m. Whether it is in regular mode or power mode, we don't know. But 1:30 definitely it was switched on because the temperature started going down and the temperature started going down faster. Remember that the outside temperature at this point is known, and the outside temperature every 1 hour is going down by 2 degrees. Here in half an hour it went down by 2 degrees. So it is not just the outside cooling. Definitely AC was working because in half an hour 2 degrees was the temperature was decreased by 2 degrees. So at 1:30 the AC was switched off. Similarly, the AC was switched off at 12:30 because the temperature started going down. Within half an hour 5 degrees was decreased. This is definitely due to AC because outside temperature is only decreasing at 2 degrees per hour. So these two times the AC was switched on. But what about the time between 11:01 and 12 o'clock? Essentially, what happened at 11:30? At 11:30 p.m. was the AC switched on or was the temperature changed? That is something that we have to look at. Now, one thing we know is that over here we discussed that there are two possibilities. Either power is part of 3 half an hours or it is part of 4 half an hours. Essentially, what that would imply is that between 11 to 11:30, if this is 1 half an hour, and between 11:30 to 12, this is the other half an hour, which is part of the first 1 hour, both of them cannot be regular. Because regular is not part of 2 half an hours. Regular is either part of 0 half an hours or 1 half an hour. So both of them cannot be regular, at least one of them is power. In the case where one of them is power and one of them is regular, say either like this or the other way around, if one of them is power and one of them is regular, then definitely the AC settings have been changed at 11:30 p.m. But what would happen if say both of them are power? The first one was power and the second one was power. Can we conclude that the temperature was changed at 11:30? We can conclude that the temperature was changed at 11:30 because power, if the AC is in a power setting, the temperature in the room takes just half an hour to reach the desired temperature. So if say the temperature, if both of them were in power, if the temperature outside is 38 and within half an hour it became 32, it would imply that from 11 to 11:30, which is this first half an hour, the desired temperature was told to be 32. Now at 11:30 it was 32 and at 12 it became 26. So this would imply that now at 11:30 the temperature was changed and the desired temperature was put to be 26. So even if both of them are power, we can conclude that the temperature was changed at 11:30. Just to reiterate, let me again explain what we are actually saying. We are saying that definitely the AC was switched on at 12:30, definitely the AC was switched on at 1:30. There is no confusion there. Definitely two of these times the AC was switched on because the temperature is going down much faster than outside. The only thing we need to consider is what happened at 11:30. At 11:30, was the temperature changed? Was the setting changed? What exactly happened? Did any one of the two happen? Because what we are looking to see is whether the AC was turned on or the temperature settings have been altered. One thing we can conclude is that from 11 to 12, for this entire 1 hour, the AC was not in regular setting. Because if the AC was in regular setting it would have been on for 2 half an hours. But we know that regular is either for 1 half an hour or for 0 half an hours. So this case doesn't exist. This would imply that either from 11 to 11:30 or from 11:30 to 12, one of them is power and one of them is regular. That is one case, and if that is the case, then the setting was changed at 11:30 from power to regular or from regular to power. This is one case. The only other alternative is that in both the cases it is power. This is power here and this is power here. But even in this particular case, where the AC was only in power mode from 11 to 12, that is for both the half an hours, because power mode takes only half an hour to cool down, it would imply that the desired temperature in the first power mode would be 32.
which is the temperature at 11:30. And in the second half an hour, the desired temperature would be 26, which is the temperature at 12 o'clock. So even in this case, we can conclude that even though it was in power, the temperature was decreased, the desired temperature was changed. So in all three of these times, the AC temperature was either the temperature was changed or the AC was switched on, or whether it became from regular to power. One thing or the other has happened. So it would imply that the correct answer is option D. Let us look at the next question. What is the maximum difference between temperature outside and temperature in degrees centigrade between 11:1 and 1:59? I think we have the temperatures outside over here. At 11 it is 38. At 11:30 it is 37. So this is 5 degrees. At 12 o'clock it is 36. So this is 10 degrees. At 12:30 it is 35. So here it is only 4 degrees. At 1 o'clock it is 34. So it is 8 degrees. At 1:30 it is 33. So it is 3 degrees. And at 2 o'clock it is 32. So again 4 degrees. So the maximum difference is over here at 12 o'clock and the difference is equal to 10 degrees.